What's up, people? Welcome to a brand new episode of Wrestle Update. Back again. We made our unexpected, unpredictable, uncontrollable return last week talking GCW, and now we are back into the mainstream zone talking AEW's Full Gear, one of their major pay-per-view events, one of the OG pay-per-views that they have ever done. And of course, joining me as always, Nello de Angelis. How are you?
What's up? I'm doing well. So when we start recording, there's always that pause in between, right? I totally just zoned out during it. So when you came back in, it scared the shit out of me. I zoned out, completely forgot I was doing in 5 seconds. And I was like, oh, okay, podcast time. So I'm doing great. I'm very excited to talk. Excited week 2 with you back to back. Probably week 3 next week, Survivor Series.
Yeah.
Yeah, so keep the streak going, and doing good, feeling good, ready to talk about some good wrestling.
Like I said, I like to think of it as season 2 of the show we're in right now. Shout out to everybody out there who listened to last week's episode. Including your friends, Nello, who praised my audition reference last week. That tickled me to death, and I very much enjoyed that and appreciated that. I want to shout out to my sister. Happy birthday, Cheyenne.
Happy birthday.
That's right. Yeah, she has appeared on the show before when we went to NXT Live earlier this year, going back to the start of the year. Maybe she will again because AEW is coming around this way at the start of next year. So we may have an AEW live experience to get into at some point there. So, but shout out to her. It's her birthday, so hopefully she has a good one. Hopefully everybody's doing good. We won't do a show before this happens, so I will say it now. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. If you celebrate, if you don't celebrate, try to use it as an excuse to get free food. That's always my number one rule with holidays. It doesn't matter if you celebrate them, just get stuff out of it. That's my rule in my opinion. It doesn't matter what it is. Just get free food. That's my mission in life, and I encourage everyone to do that. But with that said, we've got some Full Gear to talk about here, and normally I will be honest with you, Nello. We're gonna go through everything, and I'll kind of recap what led us to where we got to a lot of these matches, because if you watch this company, there is a lot going on their weekly shows in AEW. It's been said by some people that AEW does not tell enough stories. Those people are so wrong when you look at every angle that they run on a weekly basis, which I'll try to recap. But for the most part, I try to avoid the pre-show, like the 0 hour stuff. But this month, this show was special because I knew, Nello, that I need to hear about this. Did you watch the whole 0 hour, or did you just go right to the AJ match?
So I tuned in at the beginning of 0 hour. I got there in time for Buddy Matthews, the 4-way. So, and then, of course, I watched the 0 hour main event after that.
Yeah, I watched the whole thing. The first match was Deonna Purrazzo and Anna Jay. They're trying to do this faction deal with Deonna. Anna Jay, they love her here at AEW. She ended up getting the win. It was not worth talking about. Very mediocre match, I would say. I watched Anna Jay in Stardom. She had that run in the 5-star Grand Prix. And I know there's certain people at AEW that you could tell that Tony Khan is he really wants to make. And we'll talk about somebody on the main show that is like this. And I don't know who else actually sees anything in these people. And I feel like she's kind of one of those where it's clear she's a big project, but I don't really see it. And I never actually have with her. I wish that they would do something with the Vendetta with Purrazzo, but it is what it is. I know that she's not a big priority right now, but I like her well enough as a wrestler. They did like a hype segment with all of the Ring of Honor women that was like uh, Athena, Billy Starks, Red Velvet, and Layla Hirsch. Um, it's just and they were setting it up because they're doing the tournament for Wrestle Dynasty January 5th, where every promotion gets a woman to represent themselves, like CMLL, AEW, yeah, Stardom, and Ring of Honor, and they're like the Ring of Honor people. So I mean, it could go either way between Athena and Billy Starks. I would presume that Athena should do it, but we'll see what they go with that.
Yeah, give Billy the title, let Athena do Wrestle Dynasty.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense when you think about it overall. Then they got to the four-way match that you mentioned. It was Buddy, Beast Mortis, Commander, and Dante Martin. Nothing warms my heart than to see the reaction that Beast Mortis has gotten from the AEW fans. I've been watching this guy forever in Mexico, and to see him here and to see the fans always rally behind him, and he's a guy that really he was a natural. He's like the opposite of these guys I'm talking about that are projects. He's the guy that they would just put in. He's like the utility player of AEW. Whenever faction, trios match would happen, and they need a third guy randomly. He's always who they would turn to, or if they needed to put over a luchador, he would be who they would turn to. And the fans just took to him because he's awesome, and I love that. But here, Buddy was the one that got the biggest reaction, really, and they actually got him the win here as well. So, what did you think of the four-way?
Yeah, I mean, this is like a classic little Reseda spot fest. What I appreciated about it most is that they seem to really acknowledge the sort of crowd hype that Buddy Murphy got during that Adam Cole match, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And they're building off that. We'll see what they do. For me, this totally signals C2 run, I would say. Like, I felt like some of the people that got random wins on this show are building like a Jay White, obviously maybe your next title competitor, but like a lot of these things felt like we're getting our C2 spot and sort of shine right before it. But we'll see. It's Selection Sunday. So
see, that's another issue I have right now. That I'm glad that you brought that up. This match was good, by the way. Like, it was a really good match. Everybody looked good in it. It seems like the Buddy reaction is taking by the fans. But to me, it's really stupid, and I don't say that word lightly, but it's really stupid that they have not announced the Continental Classic participants. This is something. Okay, so we had heard a promo not that long ago from Okada where he was claiming that this tournament was on the level of a G1 Climax, where this would tie his record with Shono, even though it doesn't actually work like that. But whatever. The fact is, he tried to make this seem like as big as a G1, and yet we are not going to know the participants of this tournament until, at best, a couple of days before, maybe not until Dynamite. So this should have been something hyped up for weeks on end. Like we should have known the competitors 2 or 3 weeks ago, in my opinion. Everyone should be talking about it. Like every week there should be promos. You're so-and-so, you're in the Continental Classic. What do you think of it? Like that should be happening for every single person. Remember last year the amazing promo that Mark Briscoe and Jay Lethal cut? At the end of that.
For the love of the game. That was my favorite promo of the year.
It was like it was one of the best promos of the year, and it should be. Everyone knows it was awesome, as Mark Briscoe always is, as we know that. But still, everybody should be cutting promos like that going into this, like an underdog player, like you haven't got that many wins. How are you going to survive that type of deal? You could tell so many stories, and they've totally avoided that. And Buddy's a perfect example of somebody that should be in this, and you have an instant story. Okay, the crowd caught fire with you against one of our biggest stars, allegedly, in Adam Cole, and they're really rallying behind you right now. How can you use that in this tournament? But it's a good point on your part to see some random wins on this show kind of lead to that. I just wish that they would have hyped it up a lot better.
Completely agree. I mean, you look at what New Japan did with the G1 this year. They had like a complete like contenders tournament for it.
Yeah.
It looks like they're trying to just pop social media on a Sunday after the pay-per-view, which I don't see the value in that as much as like building up to it over weeks to really hype it, because now you're just going to get names of guys, which is like cool. But, maybe the resumes will speak for themselves. But all in all, I think you could have built to this so much greater. And, do you think they go 10-man blocks or they're doing 6 again?
My guess would be 6, but only due to TV time constraints, pretty much. But the thing is, we should know it already. Like, it shouldn't even be in question how many people are in this tournament, who's going to be in. All of that should have been sorted out.
Yeah,
but
I know nothing
today.
about this tournament other than that it starts Wednesday currently, and that Okada's in it.
Exactly. Wouldn't that be hilarious though? They do the selection deal and then Okada's out. Like they're like, "Oops," and Okada's like, "What?" I said I was going to be in the tournament. Yeah, that would be very funny. But still though, we'll cover it and it's going to be probably really good. The Continental Classic. We can anticipate that will be a great tournament once again as it was last year. And very needed, considering where some of the TV has gone, especially this last Go Home episode. It wasn't that popular among people. So we're going to restore the feeling, as certain people say on this show, as they tell us over and over again. What restored the feeling on this show? Big Boom AJ. So we started this whole deal off with the Rizzler coming out with Paul White. So explain to me this, because here's the deal, Nello. I knew nothing about these people. Like going into this, I have never seen any of their videos. I only know that they do stuff in Costco. Like that's literally all I know. My impression is they wrestle in Costco. And I will give Big Boom AJ this. He cut a really nice promo on Dynamite, where he was talking about QT Marshall, and I love how the promo standards have gotten so low that people were marveling at this promo where he was like, he said the date of the show, he said his finishing move, he mentioned his opponent, like the most basic things that are apparently a rarity now in modern day promo work. But he cut a very normal old school promo to lead to this match. But give me, mostly me, Nello, an education on these people, the Costco guys, the Rizzler and Big Justice, and all of them.
So for this, I probably have to go back just a little bit. So shortly after the French Revolution, no, I'm just kidding. They're Costco guys, man. They're just, Big AJ apparently has been doing this for years, where they go and they review Costco foods and they give it booms or dooms. And, it's one of those things where you kind of chuckle at it first, like the Voros twins, like they're just funny internet personalities. And then they start to kind of like cross over into your own world, such as pro wrestling, because it was revealed that Big AJ was a pro wrestler like 20 years ago, I think in like the Northeast circuit or something like that, or it may have been the Southeast. I'm not sure. But the Rizzler is like a kid that they sort of teamed up with on social media. I love that they had Paul White come out, because they did like the first coming out at like 7'2" or whatever, Paul White, big show. And then they introduced Rizzler and they're like coming out at 3'11", which was revelatory information to me. I had no clue this kid was only 3'11". So that was pretty funny. Yeah, we got shoot numbers here. But no, like they're just, I don't know. They're just funny internet people. And I think that in this day and age, it's very easy to be cynical about these sort of things. But like from all accounts, it sort of sounds like this has just been a really positive experience for everyone. And I think when a lot of celebrity matches have historically been either like, we're honestly in a golden age for celebrity stuff right now. When you look at like your Bad Bunnies, like I'll even shout out Raka Raka versus Jimmy Lloyd and GCW for those guys doing death matches. Yeah. This didn't bring out down the show at all. And honestly, I heard this promoted more than the majority of the show. Like this was the most hyped up thing to me going into the show.
Well, we're going to talk about the show and their attempts at promoting some of these matches on here. This was like a really basic build. I mean, it's kind of it's kind of ridiculous that it's like, okay, this feud is over cookies. It's like, okay, I gave this a 5-star cookie rating, but QT Marshall hates it, so now we have to fight. But still, like, at least it gave us a reason. QT did some old school heel stuff, and they gave a big spot here to Big Justice. The work was very basic. I know nothing of Big Boom AJ's Northeast run. Was he in those Super 8 tournaments like back in the day? I would like to know his resume, but I'm with it.
All right, that top rope superplex though, gnarly, so sick. He crushed that. And also my favorite thing in the whole match was when he goes for his finishing move, he was facing the announcers. He grabs QT.
I noticed that too.
Yeah, and he perfectly positions himself towards the hard cam. And I literally said out loud, "What a pro."
This man is a worker through and through.
Dude, he knows that he is an auteur, and shout them out. Like I've in a million different times I've had the thing where I'm like, God, these guys are whatever, but like, damn, they just seem like sweet people, and they're American Italians, so how can I not take them on as my own?
I mean, look at that. Look at the heart you just put into this here. But as somebody who, again, I have no history with these people, I don't even know what they do, really. But I thought this was like really well done. Again, it was old school wrestling. The fans loved it. Like, everybody was into it. I saw a lot of positive, even among people. I was really surprised because certain people were cynical and were like, the Costco guys, how could they give them a match on pay-per-view and all that? And I was just thinking, it's a pre-show match. Like, what difference does it make at all? And this was kind of like the best case scenario. The match wasn't bad. It wasn't anything like 5 stars or anything, but it was a good basic match. And you got the crowd into it. You got, again, they gave spots to the Rizzler with Marshall getting shoved into him. Big Justice came in, hit a spear, which was like good on the spear, but he didn't follow through. That's the only thing.
He just smacked the concrete.
Yeah.
He jumped though. He jumped up.
Yeah, the spear was good. Like the spear, he had a little bit of form on the spear. If he had followed through with it, it would have been perfect. But that's still a decent spear, a good spear for Big Justice here. It was silly in a lot of ways, but still, I have to say I enjoyed this. Like, I thought it was good. I don't know if I'll be tuning into the Costco reviews. I mean, I don't even shop at Costco, so I mean they just don't. I'm just not in their demographic, unfortunately, Nello.
Yeah, there's none near me. So, but okay, my hot take is that this was so short, and it was like this was one of the hottest matches the entire night for the crowd.
Yeah,
I had a big old smile on my face the whole time. The way that this was promoted, I think this should have been on the main show. Honestly, I think you could have snuck this in the middle.
I totally agree.
And I think that it would have done more for the main show because it's like you promoted your pre-show on YouTube more. And I think, like, again, they look at it as like, oh, people will watch this and buy the pay-per-view. I don't think anyone who's coming in to watch the Costco guy for free on the pre-show is going to buy the AEW pay-per-view. But I definitely think that you could have got some more eyes on the pay-per-view with this dude for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. I think it's really hard to monetize like this style of content that they make, like TikTok style reviews, into wrestling pay-per-view, a full wrestling match, because the length is like, but I think if you had put it in there, like if you'd put it on the show, that would have had curiosity to it. And I think it would have helped the show, actually. Like, let's say they take out, I think the one everyone would point to as a match that, didn't stand out on the show would be Takeshita and Ricochet.
Yep.
Take that off the show and make that a TV main event next week. Like, that's the main event of the next Dynamite. I think that gives that match a chance to stand out more, and you give the Costco guys a big spot on the show. And like you said, maybe could grab some of those fans to at least get interest and be like, hey, like, I'm going to watch these guys that I like so much, and I want to see them wrestle. I think that would have worked. I agree with you, actually. Uh, Let me see what the cage match inmates have to say about this show here. Because let me tell you something, Nello. The AEW fans on Cage Match have definitely been up and down over the last couple of weeks on Dynamite and a lot of these matches and things like that. But I think that, you know, for AEW right now, they're trying to do a lot of different things, and I appreciate their attempt at hyping this. This match got a 6.92 on Cage Match. Big Boom AJ, QT Marshall.
Let's go.
Yeah, see,
Love
so
it.
yeah, the cage match inmates respected it. It's only a little bit less than the four-way, which got 7.10 on there. But a very successful experiment, I would say, working with the Costco guys for AEW, and they need to try different things. I mean, it's been talked about. Tony himself said that on the conference call that he's looking into running smaller buildings and stuff to get the fans more hyped up instead of running these big buildings that they're not really filling up. And I think they need to try different things, most importantly.
Yep.
But the show started off, and we went immediately to the World Tag Team title match. You had the Outrunners, Truth Magnum and Turbo Floyd, the Acclaimed, Anthony Bowens and Max Caster, the Kings of the Black Throne, Brody King and Malachi Black, and the Champions, Private Party, Quinn and Zay. And their titles win, the tag titles win. Nobody can say the crowd was quiet during that. That was a historic Dynamite moment to me. One of the better TV matches of the year, and a great win for them. So they come in, now at first they had the live band play out
shout out Dead Body. Yeah, shout out fucking Dead Body for playing out Kings of the Black Throne. That was sick. I saw Colin Young on my TV all of a sudden, and I was like, how are you gonna give me Big Boom, the Rizzler, and Big Justice, and then give me the host of Hardlore? Like this is all of my social media worlds colliding into one cacophony of awesomeness.
I feel like they booked this show for you in a lot of ways.
Because it's just hardcore, like wrestling and hardcore. It's such a crossover. Like that shit's embedded in the culture. So I was really, really stoked.
What about when Max Caster made fun of the band in his rap afterwards?
I actually didn't hear that, so I'm excited to hear what he said, so I can say I didn't like that later.
Well,
what did he say?
I wasn't paying that much attention. He just said the band sucks. There's something like that, like you get this emo band out of here or something like that. And he was like, the big part of it though, you missed the big part of the rap, where at the end, instead of saying everyone loves the Acclaimed, he said everyone loves the best wrestler alive. So they're teasing a breakup with him and Bowens here. I kind of wish they just get it on.
Yeah, and it's weird because like the breakup it's like when you're when people are in a relationship and rather than just splitting up with someone, they just start like doing everything they can in the hopes of like the other person breaking up with them. Like they're just so incapable of like being mature and owning up. This seems like what Max Caster's doing. Like I can't think of a wrestling tag team breakup where it was done by just making one of the other people so awful, but like just unlikable, and you're like, I don't want to see these people together anymore. Like that's a very interesting way to break people up, because it's like, what do you want to see from Caster after that, if anything?
It fits his personality he's shown, I would say, so far. But yeah, I just wish they'd get it over with, to be honest. I mean, I don't know what their plans are with either of these people. I just can't see a lot of hype for like, oh, I can't wait for that big blow off, like, Caster versus Bowens. Like, I don't know if a singles match with these guys are really gonna grab people overall. So they're gonna have to work on. And I mean, Anthony Bowens is very talented. I think they're gonna need to work on getting a new gimmick whenever they break out of this Acclaim stuff for him, just to give him something to stand out on. Caster, I mean, he's gonna be it's gonna be really tough for him because he's got the promos. But on this roster, in terms of in-ring, I don't know. The best wrestler alive moniker might not be accurate, is all I'm saying. Private Party had a cool entrance with all of these like dancers. Like they had like the club vibe going with like the bright colors and all that stuff in the darkness. So everybody got special entrances. I thought the match was okay. Like I said, I mean, I thought the thing is, it's kind of lessened after we watched the first four way, like on the pre-show. I mean, this only has a 5.64 rating on Cage Match, so clearly it didn't grab the inmates that much. But I thought it was okay. Like, I just think the problem with this match is it's really overdone. We've seen this kind of multi-man schmaz match a million times. But I thought it wasn't bad at all, really. And I'm kind of glad Private Party won. I didn't want to see them lose the titles this soon.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest issue for me with the match, is that I did not expect them to lose the titles at all. So there wasn't a lot of tension for me. Like, Outrunners are cool. Like, dude, I would have loved to see the Outrunners versus Big Boom AJ and Big Justice. Are you kidding me? That would have been awesome. Bring them back. But yeah, like with these sort of like first big pay-per-view defenses, it's always hard, right? And that, I think that we kind of saw that a couple times on the show in the main event as well, because it's how do you build the tension when you know that this isn't the story's finished yet, right? Like, this story's going to continue. And there just weren't really any false finishes that got me. Selfishly, I was like, oh, it'd be really cool if Kings of the Black Throne won, just because I would like to see them actually do something. I've never seen a team be built up so much, like in every way other than like getting wins.
Yeah.
And Buddy winning honestly did make me think maybe, but then immediately when the match started, I was like, no way. But yeah, this was fine. I totally agree with you, though, that like, I think that this suffered from the four-way before it. Like, you only had one match buffer between those two, and you're pretty much running the same style match, but just with more people. So it's like, how do you replicate that? Or how do you not just replicate that, right? And I don't think that they really broke out and found their own identity with this match and were able to really outshine that previous four-way, which has a better rating on Cage Match as well.
What about when Caster tried to like get Bowens to pin him?
Oh,
like,
so Bowens had him set up for the move, and then Caster's like, no, put him on your shoulders or whatever. That
no. So Caster was like, no, pin me. Like Caster's like, you can pin me, and you like, yeah. And then the commentary was going crazy. Yeah, it was near the end of the match where Caster was like Bowens like, Caster, what are you doing? And Caster's like, no, we're still good. And he laid on his back and was like, no, you pin me, we'll win. Like, that type of deal. Although, what would happen if you lost and won at the same time?
I remember when Bowens set up for the finisher and Caster and him were like off, like out of sync or whatever. But yeah, maybe I scrubbed that from my brain just because it's so stupid.
Yeah, the commentator was like, no, you can't do that on there. So. Yeah, they ended up losing anyway. They just set up the gin and juice on Caster to take the fall here. But I thought it was a decent overall. Private Party went to the crowd and everything like that. They cut to Orange Cassidy, but he's all like, this was kind of funny. He was all like, everybody knows I've been fighting the Death Riders, and Private Party winning is the first step to that. And it's like, huh? like what? This whole I want to save my thoughts on this for the main event because I have a lot to say about this Death Riders angle and what they've done with it. But a confusing promo from Cassidy, but par for the course. He said he's gonna take the power back from Moxley. He's taking control of the company back from Moxley. More on that to come. They play a video with Roderick Strong and MJF. So this build, they set it up. The storyline heading into this was everybody came back from injury, and MJF put Cole, like both Cole and Roderick wanted to get their hands on MJF, and MJF set it up to where his stipulations were the first between you two to get 3 wins faces me in a match. And then it turned into Adam Cole saying, Tony Khan said if we both get 3 wins, we both face you in the match. And MJF was pissed, even though he set this up allegedly. And then he basically, Cole lost his 3rd match versus Takeshita. So that took him out. Roderick won his third match. And then with a 1 week build, we had MJF and Roderick cut their promo last week.
Oh my God. And it was like the worst 1 week, like, dude.
Yeah. So, yeah. So to explain what they did here, last Wednesday at Dynamite, MJF, they did this vignette where he pulled up in his car to like a trailer park, and was like making fun of somebody that was there. I guess he was supposed to be homeless. And he turned to Roderick. He goes in this whole tangent on Roderick Strong where he's like, "You grew up poor. You're white trash like the fans. Your mom even shot your dad." And yeah, I was like, man, like I said, all on 1 week build. We're getting into this. And Roderick, he came out later and he was like, yeah, like, am I supposed to feel bad about that? Like, that was how I grew up, but I overcame that. I overcame all the odds. I'm not ashamed of anything. I fought hard because I earned it. And he would have cut a good promo, except he tried to, like, bridge his comedy character into this.
Yes.
Extremely serious, like, storyline.
He started it with, like, Max or whatever. And I was oh. It's like, I've seen Roddy do this story once before, and it was in Ring of Honor. And for me, I'm like, this is not a story you got to run twice. Like, this isn't, I don't know. This was not for me.
The thing is, I think this is a very, well, MJF's not the person to be doing this with, first of all. But secondly, this storyline is a powerful story. Like, people who know my background know I have a very similar storyline. Both of my parents were addicts, and I grew up in an abusive household, just like him. Like, this totally resonates with me as a human being, and I know that there are other people like that out there. So this is a very serious story, like, you know, that you could get a lot out of. But to turn it into this kind of goofy comedic segment is borderline offensive to me in a weird way. Going in there, and I thought they handled it really, really poorly. I know they did a similar angle in NXT where I thought they did it basically perfect. Like, if they wanted to do this storyline, you want to bring up his past, you should have Roderick do a sit down interview with JR or somebody like that, completely serious. None of that Max bullcrap, none of the glasses or any of that. He should have kind of just talked in a completely normal voice, not a wrestler promo voice, and show the scars of what he went through and how he overcame them. And for Max to cross that line means that this, like, everything's flipped on its head now. Like, you know, before I hated you for this reason, and now you've made it so personal, I have to eliminate you from this company. Just a very serious promo. Instead, they did the most half-assed version of it. And at first, I kind of liked the promo because, I mean, the promo that Kyle and Adam and Mercedes cut around him were so bad, I think it made me like Roderick's promo better on that episode. But when I really think about it, because at least he had something to say, unlike other of those people. But thinking back on it, I really think it sucked, like how they did it, and it's unfortunate. And just such a desperation play for a feud that didn't. And another thing, they should have been building up Roderick as equal to Adam Cole, like that. They're both equal threats to MJF, but they did not do that. Adam Cole had all of these marquee matches, whereas Strong was facing undercarders on Collision and stuff, and they didn't really tell the story equally. And it was clear that this was just going to be a story beat for Cole more than a Roderick match.
Which is not necessary for a pay-per-view. Like, sorry to interrupt, but, you know, I think that we talked about Takeshita and Ricochet earlier. Like, I think if you would have put that here, bumped this off the card, and then put the Big Boom AJ match where Takeshita and Ricochet was as a buffer, I think that would have made the pay-per-view so much more digestible, and it would have put Ricochet and Takeshita, because you can't put them on after Fletcher Ospreay. You just can't try to do the same type of match, right? And because we saw that on the last pay-per-view with Hologram and Beast Mortos. Like, it can be a great match, it just won't hit the same, and you're asking too much of your audience at that point. So, like, this was such a nothing sandwich to me. like you said, there was disparity in the buildup, and then of course the story that doesn't have quite the buildup is the one that goes on the pay-per-view. So like it was just such a lazy thing to get to this, all for Adam Cole to get to World's End, and then for him to, like, if I'm not mistaken, he didn't really have a presence on this show.
Cole?
Was Cole on this?
Yeah, he came out after this match.
Okay.
But it was a basic thing. Yeah, I agree with you. Cut the Ricochet match and cut the Mariah segment and put that all on TV. The show's a lot better. And put the Big Boom AJ match on the show. But the thing is, it just bothers me because Roderick's such a great wrestler that bringing that up should have been a major moment for him and his character. And instead, it's like totally throwaway to set up this Adam Cole thing.
It doesn't matter anymore. Like what?
No,
like, it's done 1 week.
Yeah, exactly. Like it shows you how little they actually effort they put into Roderick. And it's a shame because he's such a great wrestler. Yeah. I thought this match wasn't bad, honestly. Like I thought it was one of the better MJF match, and MJF is somebody who I don't think much of as a wrestler personally. Like as a talent, I think his promos are so. It's just what we saw. What we talked about in that trailer promo. It's like, yeah, he gets this. There's a skeleton of a good wrestler in this man, but there's so much wrong like that's stacked on top of it that it makes me really dislike him and not enjoy his presence on any of these shows. And I don't think he's really done anything to change my mind. But I thought this was a pretty decent match. I thought Max worked hard here. They did this limb match, which I think it worked the best for this one because they tried to do it back to back, and it feels like that's another issue with this company. On these pay-per-views, they need to have somebody backstage that's like, okay, they did this one spot in this earlier match. Yes. You don't have to repeat it in these other matches in the future. And it feels like nobody cares about that.
Didn't they say that they used to do that or something? Because I felt like they said that they used to do that. Like back at the start of AEW, because I remember Cody talking about that or something.
Yeah, I mean, if they did it, they stopped on this show. They didn't do it on this show. I can tell you that. But they did some stuff. They did a spot where Roderick hit a powerbomb on the apron. Roderick got hit with a powerbomb on the apron. He was working the hand and working the arm a lot as well. Roderick fired up. MJF tried Panama Sunrise to troll Cole, but Strong started to fight back. He immediately went back to the arm. I thought that was good. Strong ended up hitting the sit kick at the end of Heartache. Only a 2 count. It should have been the finish, but whatever.
Yeah.
They did some cool stuff with the backbreaker stuff. Roderick was really rolling. MJF used the arm again, though, and he ended up locking in the Salt of the Earth, and you got the tap out there. So the bad build aside, I think we both agree, I think everybody agrees that this was not good in terms of how they built it up. What about the match itself?
Match itself I thought was fine. Again, it's like, so for context, like I've been watching so much wrestling again outside of this, and it's pretty much just like classic matches, like going through. So like, I want to watch a Cutie Suzuki all-time tag banger. Like, let's see what her best tag match ever is or whatever, right? So I'm watching like a lot of bangers and stuff like that. And it's like I don't go into those matches with the full story, right? And so like this one, trying to figure out exactly what I want to say here. Like, it's all to say, like, I don't know, even with the story here, like, there was just really nothing for me to grasp onto. I didn't like that MJF kicked out at the end of Heartache. I thought that he could do like a foot on the ropes or a roll out of the ring, and that would have done just as much because you really only made Roddy look worse and weaker. I don't think that, like, MJF essentially looked stronger. If he's going to get the win, he's going to look strong regardless. So I don't like, if anything, I think that Roddy should have got the kick out on a big move like that instead of MJF for the babyface thing. But yeah, like, again, like if you're going to book this as a footnote in someone else's story, then that's pretty much the level of excitement and investment that I come into it.
Yeah.
And it did nothing for me really. Like, again, I totally acknowledge that both guys worked well. Like you, I'm not really an MJF guy. He definitely has glimpses, and I think that's why I stay around. But like, I don't see the same stock in him that AEW clearly does. And to have him completely gone and to have these guys do the build, to me, that's like when you take him out of the work cycle, if he's going to be gone that much, because it's very much the obligatory now. Like, okay, Chris Jericho wasn't on this pay-per-view, but remember how every single one before, it's like, oh, here's the obligatory Chris Jericho pay-per-view match, like the Adam Cole one. And this very much felt like, well, we have to get MJF on a pay-per-view since he's back, but hasn't really been back in any meaningful way. And just, he's on TV like once every couple months and then keeps getting these big spots. And it just doesn't make sense to me. And I don't really think that's how you build television and excitement, by having someone who's never really there. Like, he's not a part-time guy, and I don't think he's really special in that way as an attraction.
He's got Adam Sandler movies to film, though, Nello. That's what you don't understand about that. So after that, they MGF does the stuff with the arm, with the chair, snaps his arm, breaks his arm. Adam Cole runs in late. Like, why was Adam Cole not out here for this to prevent this from happening? Nobody knows. But he runs out, and then suddenly Kyle O'Reilly comes in, and he's all mad at Adam Cole. He's like, I told you, Adam. I told you he was too dangerous. What's the deal with AEW too? This is another thing I hated on Wednesday's show. What is it with all of these baby faces in AEW that are like, they don't want to get hurt? They're like, no, like, we can't fight MJF. He's too dangerous, Cole.
Yeah, they're like OG UFC fighters. They're like tapping out like a full guard. They're like, well, I don't want to get hit once. So
yeah, what kind of nerd crap is that?
That Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole promo was so fucking bad that when Kyle started, I was like, you're kidding, right? Like, you're gonna be like, hey man, this is just a rib, by the way, go kick his ass. No. Like,
and they did the same thing. Again, I'm jumping ahead of the main event again. They did the same thing with, Orange Cassidy's doing his promo on the Death Riders, and suddenly Mark Briscoe and Tomohiro Ishii's coming up, and they're like, let's go to war, man. Let's do this. We're ready to clash, bro. And then Orange Cassidy's like, no, I don't want you to get hurt. What? This is Mark Briscoe and the Stone Pitbull. Like, what are you talking about? These are the boys. This is who we go to war with, Orange Cassidy. Why are you... What is that? Like, what is this babyface booking that AEW has been doing lately? Stop it. Don't be afraid of the heels if you're a top babyface. Like, it's ridiculous. Especially not... At least with the Death Riders, I think they failed at what they tried to do and meant to get to that, but they've at least tried to put them as this monstrous threat. MJF is like a cowardly heel. Like, why are we afraid of him? Like, his whole deal is that he cannot beat anyone fairly. Like, he has to cheat in all of his matches. But yeah, so they did a little bit with Kyle and Adam here. I'm not interested in this Undisputed Era stuff either. It's like, we've been down this road a million times already. Like, what? I don't know. Like, what possible avenue can they go with Kyle and Adam Cole to make this interesting?
I don't know. Like, I completely agree. Like, these guys... Kyle even mentioned, he's like, being connected to you has been the most special thing, blah, blah, blah. But like, it's like, I don't know. And that's something we talk about a lot, right? It's pro wrestling history and how it never really ends and it's always active. And like, just having two people look at each other, it's like all the history that's there, right? So anytime Kyle's going to interact with Adam, it's like Undisputed, Future Shock, fucking, what were they in, I can't remember Ring of Honor. But
they
like
were Future Shock.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was thinking of PWG for some reason. But like, they need to separate, I think, because the reunions are not meaningful anymore.
Yeah,
because
that's
like
the problem with it.
They were still doing that bit this decade. like 4 years ago. And I don't think that there's enough space between it. Like, remember when the Shield reunited? Like, okay, and then you look at something like the Bloodline reuniting as well, right? I'm like, it doesn't feel like it's been that long to me. And I'll say that as well there. Like, none of these things, like, it's like, I don't know. I think that these need to breathe way longer. But yeah, I'm not someone that's excited for another undisputed Adam Cole faction. Like, I think that I used to be a very big Adam Cole guy. Like, PWG, Adam Cole is peak Adam Cole to me. NXT champion, whatever. But like, he has been doing the same exact thing, and I have not seen him evolve in any meaningful way since PWG now.
I'm surprised. I will say this. I'm by no means a fan of his as a wrestler, to be honest. But I do think, like, he has become, like, a really lightning rod, like, even for AEW fans. Like, people hate this guy. And it's like, I mean,
I'm Cody.
And I'm not even a fan of his, but I do think that some of the criticism is a little over the top. Like, I remember us talking about it before, because a lot of it is like people going in on his body and stuff and how he looks, and that's a little, it's not.
And like, you should never body shame. And like I said,
yeah.
My big thing is that, like, there's a place for all bodies in wrestling, but like, he just does not look physically imposing when you put him in the ring with someone else. He looks like Captain America before he got the serum. And like, that to me is what it is that he looks out of place, and that's nothing.
Yeah. I mean,
that's it. Like, he has an amazing body. I wish I had Adam Cole's fucking body.
Okay. Like I said, listen, you heard it here first, people. Like I said, but I wish that all of this wasn't happening. And I think another problem is the promos he cut were bad. Yes. Like, I mean, he deserves criticism for that, but it's not like he was giving grade A material either. That promo he cut when he was talking about why he turned on MJF and he was trying to, like, make sense of this ridiculous storyline was so stupid. Like, how could you not turn on? Like, this is a very ineffective babyface right now. Yeah. The fans are over this man as a babyface. It's clearly true, and I think that's why they kept his appearance so short. Because if he had been one of, like, on a main stage here, I think he would have gotten a negative reaction against MJF, and I think they wanted to protect him from that. But our problem is his promo was so nonsensical about why he had to turn on MJF. And on top of it, like, at that point, I hate their feud. I hated it last year. I think legitimately, I don't know if this is a hot take or not, I think the Adam Cole and MJF segments last year was some of the legitimate worst television I've ever seen on any show. Like, not just wrestling. I think it's legitimately one of the worst angles in the history of wrestling. Like, and I mean, you can't argue against it when you see how much things have dropped in terms of attendances and things like that, and it directly correlated with that feud being so prominent. But I hated it, and I think it really did a ton of damage to this entire company. But
once Adam Cole broke his foot and they dragged it along, and like, it's like they literally dragged on the horse with the broken foot. And I think that it's like a sunk cost fallacy. Like, well, we invested all of this into it, and they're still doing it now, right? And to me, on top of Adam Cole. Sorry. No, I was just going to say Adam Cole. Yeah. Oh, go. Adam Cole and Roderick Strong are two of the best chicken shit heels of all time, in my opinion. When they're not playing those roles, they are so much less interesting to me. Because, like, I don't really see them as good people, and that's because of the things they've done. And I say that in kayfabe completely, right? And I say that in a positive sense. Like, to me, they're two of the most despicable heels. So when they're playing babyface, like, I'm just not as interested. Like, I don't think their dynamic is as interesting. Like, Max is and you can do two heels. I would so much rather see a heel Cole and a heel Max face than a babyface Cole and a heel Max. Because anytime that you really set up anyone against MJF too, like, MJF tries to make them, like, not cool, right? So when you already have a not cool babyface going against this dude, you're setting yourself up for total failure.
And on top of it, they when MJF returned from injury, he immediately said, "This feud's dead. I'm done with Adam Cole, and like I don't want to do this anymore. I have to focus on the company."
Yeah, and then
And I
we
just,
obviously
yeah,
that was just the tease that no, everything that's going to happen is the opposite of what you said, Max.
yeah, exactly. And hmm.
And then Adam
Yeah, it
Cole
was just
comes back and he's like, "Hey, everything that we did, it's not existent anymore, but we're still going to feud, okay?" And it's just like the devil, all that shit was stupid, and now I'm here. Like, oh my god, yeah, I don't know.
the devil storyline. That's a whole other situation.
We lived through that. Hey,
Um,
by the way, happy anniversary because we reviewed Full Gear last year as well. So I think this might be our first like 2 years in a row pay-per-view.
that's true. Absolutely. Yeah, happy anniversary. Like
Yeah.
Wrestle Update reviews right now, so good stuff
So
there.
yeah, you can listen to the 2023 or 2024 Full Gear reviews. We've got a
Absolutely.
library, folks.
Yeah, we can talk about the MJF and Jay White match, one of the worst matches in the history of
Oh
the
my
company.
god.
Not there. No, listen, I don't know how many people want to revisit that, but if you do, you know where to find us. So yeah, like I said, Cole and PWG was definitely his peak version. I agree with that. I wasn't a big fan of the everything else that he's done, but especially this stuff. And we'll see what they do with it going ahead. But I just what I wanted to say, the point I wanted to make, despite the fact of how much I hated it, the people that did stick around, there's a good portion of that fan base that actually liked it, that liked the brochachos. And so now for this storyline to work and Adam Cole to be a babyface, you have to accept that the fans were stupid for believing in MJF because the fans believed in MJF and Adam Cole turned on him. Like like the fans believed in MJF. Adam Cole is the one who turned on him first. So he's trying to say that he turned on him because he's like, it's obvious that he would have turned on me anyway. I had to fight evil with evil. But at that point, for that to work, you have to accept that the fans were stupid for believing in MJF. And so then, by Adam Cole making this babyface proclamation, he's in effect calling the fan base idiots for believing in MJF. And that makes him a heel to the fans. So there's no possible way that they could do this feud and he stay a babyface. Because it was bad. It's poorly written, poorly told. Everything about it was done badly. And I think that they just have to move on from this. Most importantly, they should have wrapped it up here and just dealt with it. If they booed Cole for it, so be it. They should have saved the Ryder stuff. I don't even think they care about him at all, unfortunately. I mean, we just saw it on here. He literally was, like you said, a footnote in Adam Cole's story, and that's a shame, but it is what it is at the end of the day. Um, with that said, though, like I said, I thought the match was okay. It's got a 6.68 rating on Cage Match, and we'll move on from there. So after that happened, we had all the drama with Kyle and Cole. They play. Oh yeah, so they play a video for Mercedes and Statlander. So the car angle. What did you think? What did you think of this?
Okay,
Someone literally tried to run someone over in a car in this feud.
it just felt like they're trying to. It felt like, especially right after Bronson and Braun, that they tried to do the same thing with Camille and Stat, and it just simply did not work because it was all so inorganic and sloppy, and it just did not have the same sort of like, hey, we're gonna brawl out, and now I'm gonna tsunami you on top of an ambulance, like because like he walks out and then he sees that platform, right? It's all very sort of it's there's a psychology to it, right? This was just like, hey, go hit her with your car. And I think that in terms of bigger wrestlers, right? Like your Reeds, your Strowmans, your I don't know, your Stats, your Camille's, like just your giants, like I think doing these sort of ridiculous backstage stunts and stories can really help them get over, like we saw with Braun and Roman all those years back, right? But it just did not work in any sense here. And I feel like Camille has such little stock right now. I would say that signing her has been a bit of a dud so far, because like obviously they're working towards a Camille and Mercedes breakup, but I don't necessarily see the value nor the interest in watching them feud, because Camille is a very one-dimensional and there's really nothing to her. Like it's almost like they're doing Wardlow MJF again, but like I don't know, it's just not there.
But we haven't had any time for that. Like they just got together a couple of months ago. Like they barely done anything together, and they're already turning to where Mercedes is bullying her now. Because so Camille has the broken arm or whatever, her arm's in a sling, and now Mercedes is like hitting her arm and busting her around to say she's an idiot, can't do anything right, blah 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 blah. Even the car was like, "Oh, you messed up, you missed the target." I just thought that I didn't mind the brawls or any of that stuff. Like backstage where she threw him through a wall, that was fine. But to actually go so far to try to run somebody over with a car, that just felt so WCW in 2000. Like it reminded me of the Hummer angle. Like it brought back negative flashbacks. And I just thought it was totally stupid. And the angle on Dynamite was terrible too, because it's like that did not babyface Statlander at all. Where Mercedes was like, you take care of it. And she's like, what? I've got a broken arm. What do you want me to do? And she's like, get in there. And then she just comes in, and then Sheena and Statlander beat the crap out of this one-armed person. Like, what is that? Like, who does that benefit? And besides babyfacing Camille? But yeah, I think they've done a lot wrong with Mercedes in general this year. You know, I think you have to look at how they've used her. This is not, and I'm going to praise this match in a second. But leading up, before this match happened, Mercedes was a bust. Like, in my opinion. Like, I don't think she has been at the level. I think she's one of the worst promos in this entire company. If you listen to, shout out to Rewind Away, Rewind to Dynamite on Post Wrestling, John Pollock, he said that Mercedes was like an AI version of a promo. And that's basically what she is. That's basically what she is. It was like, input cheap sports team heat. And she did it with all of the passion and emotion of that. She is one of the worst mic workers. And the thing is, not only is she bad, they keep giving her mic time. Like, she talks every week.
Didn't they tease an interaction between her and MVP a few weeks back? He gave her his card or something.
I feel like they may have crossed paths.
Only because that's the easiest way to make money with her, I feel like, is to give her just a really fucking great mouthpiece, man.
Or you do this. This is why people like Mercedes. This match on this show. Mm-hmm. Give her a great match. That is what she's good at. But we've seen her talk 10 times more than we've seen her wrestle. And to be honest, even her matches beforehand have not been at this level, I would say. No, this was a great match that they
try to keep her. Okay, so think about when they debuted Punk and Bryan, right? And Mercedes. Look at the difference. Yeah. Punk and Bryan wrestled every single week. Danielson on Collision, Punk on Rampage. Like, these guys were working every single show each week pretty much. Mercedes, it's like they keep her matches for pay-per-view only pretty much, or like the special branded Dynamites. And it's like that is decreasing her value so much, because what will make her valuable, like you just said, is the fucking in-ring work. And I don't feel like you can hide that behind anything anymore.
It's a shame how that happened. I mean, if you look at her run so far, I'm looking at her ratings on Cage Match. This is her highest AEW rated match by far. The second highest is her match versus Willow in May. This is an 8.58, and the other one's an 8 flat. So according to the Cage Match rating, she's had 2 4-star matches in this whole year in AEW, and I think that tells a tale right there. They really wanted more out of her, and I don't think she's delivered. Um, but this match showed you the potential that's there and why she was so popular and such a big star in the past. I think they've really done a lot of damage by having her cut all these terrible promos, and they're indefensible. Like there's nobody who could say she's good on the mic, and they just keep doing it. And I think it's really done a lot of damage to her. But still, to me, Statlander should be the face of the women's division. In my opinion, she has to be one of the most under pushed people to me. Yeah. Even with her big win over Willow, like you can't tell me that the face of the company should be Mariah May shaking her tits every week and not Statlander. Like you've got to be kidding me. Like they've totally blown this division off, like so far off the rails to me. Like with everything with the Toni Storm stuff, we missed most of that this year. But I
love Toni Storm though. I miss her so much. God, we differ there.
I hate her matches, and I don't think it's the right tone. I don't think it's the right tone for this division. Statlander is an amazing worker, like clearly one of the best. Her match with Willow was even better than this one, and this was a great match.
Yeah.
To me, this was actually I think you could argue this was the match of the night. On there, there's a couple that are ahead we'll talk about, but I thought this was a legitimately great match, by far Mercedes' best match. I think that Stat was phenomenal here, and you kind of mentioned, we were texting about it, and you mentioned how Statlander is great against smaller opponents as well.
Dude, remember the Sky Blue Julia Hart saga where she just she made them into stars. Willow as well. Like those two women are so underrated in terms of the amount of stardom they've created on this roster. Like they've legitimized a lot of people who otherwise would not have maybe been, God, for the lack of a better term, so legit, right?
Well, they're another one. It's the same deal I kind of talked about earlier. People like Julia and Sky Blue were getting tons of hype. It's clear they're big projects, and I don't think Statlander and Willow have gotten the love for the people in charge. They made it themselves. They kind of forced their hand. I don't think they were the ones that they want to be stars to make sense. I think they love Timeless Tony and all that goofy crap. And again, some people like it, and I'm not going to say there was no good in the Toni Storm run. I mean, Mariah's turn on Toni was a great angle, like no doubt about it. I didn't think much of the match, to be honest, but the angle was amazing. And I think it's the tone that bothers me about all of this. And we'll talk about it more with Mariah's segment. I think they've really hurt the division this year. And on top of it, Mercedes, I think a lot of people have been kind of exposed, to not be that great, actually. But Statlander cannot be, because she's just so amazing here against anybody. And obviously, Mercedes is a world-class worker when she's at the top of her motivation levels, like here, and in a big spot and going for the title and all of that. Stat was just great here. I think she is phenomenal. The match was really strong as well. I really enjoyed how Statlander was working as a powerhouse and kind of an underdog at the same time. What she kind of bridged back and forth for that. At one point, Stat did this Chaos Theory move, which looked great. They did that backstabber spot, which they kind of it looked like Mercedes kind of messed up on the Dynamite when they did it, where she did the backstabber, but she based and held on for it. She was going in there. They did a great counter where Stat was going for Saturday Night Fever, and Mercedes countered it into a DDT. And then she went for the frog splash, but Stat ran up and turned it into an F5. It was really good stuff going on there. And they went back and forth with she finally hit the moneymaker. It never looks great, but I thought this wasn't an embarrassingly bad one that we've seen before.
It was definitely impressive too that one of the cleaner ones was hit on Stat of all people.
Well, it shows you how much the sell is important for that kind of move, and again, the quality of Stat to take it that way. Because, like I said, we've seen some that have been just horrible. But in the end, they did a good finish here, where instead of a big finish, they Mercedes pushed her throat first into the rope and then turned it into a flash pin. So really good match, I thought.
Yeah, I thought the sequence leading up to the finish was better than the actual finish, you know.
Yeah, me
But
too.
when I think of what I've liked from Mercedes so far in AEW, I go to the Stephanie Vakir match, the Willow match, and this, and I think that each one has gotten better. So I'm going to lean into optimism and hope that her run just starts to get better from here. And that they start to focus a lot more on her in-ring work, because you can see how hyped the crowd got for a great Mercedes match. Because, dude, like, I just rewatched Sasha Bailey not that long ago, and that is like peak. Like, I don't know, like, it's weird because I never thought of Mercedes as that bad of a promo back then. And maybe she's someone a little bit too like Cole, who hasn't quite evolved, and maybe that people are sick of the quote unquote boss character, CEO or whatever, right? But like, I don't know. I would love to see her get that mojo back, I guess is what we would call it.
You see the potential in a match like this, and the Stephanie match too. I agree with you. That was a really good one. I think that they just, like I said, the stuff with the car and all of that was so bad and cartoonish. I really hope that they can get her back on the right track here. I really hope they don't give up on Statlander, because like Willow is somebody, I agree with you. She's like just as good as Stat, and like they should be the faces of the division. If it were up to me, I do apologize since you are a fan of Timeless. I know a lot of people are, and like I said, there's good there. But if it were up to me, I would have had Statlander and Willow feud over that belt for the whole year instead of Tony and Mariah. Like, because I'm sorry, I just don't think All About Eve really means that much to the vast majority of people in 2024. That we needed to relive it.
Whoa, shooting on Joseph L. Mankiewicz today, everyone. You heard it here first. Damn.
He deserved it. But anyway. So they do a thing where Statlander. I do agree about the finish of this match. I think that was kind of the down point. Mercedes did her dance at the end too, so we got that, as well as somewhere Okada was happy about that. They did the tease where Jay White and Hangman Page were talking about their feud. I thought this was, this build up was kind of basic, but not bad. Like I thought it was nice that they gave Jay White a target with the leg. That was going to be your ending. They mentioned their history. I'm not a big fan of Hangman's character right now, because he's so over the top. Like, he's so angry. like why are you so like ridiculously cartoonishly angry all the time?
I don't know. I like the hammed upness of Hangman right now. It is definitely cartoonish, but it works for me. I like something that. So like this show, right, had a lot of matches that I didn't necessarily care about in terms of Roderick, MJF, Takeshita, Ricochet. And then they had matches that I figured would be really good, but they were matches that I saw before already on previous pay-per-views or shows, like Fletcher, Ospreay, Jay White, Hangman. And it's not like, it's within a certain proximity, right? Which is to say the last pay-per-view and like on TV within the past 3 months or whatever. So it just felt like, again, there was not enough space in between all of these events to really make me care. So I thought that this was a great match. I really liked the counter work. Again, like, I'm a big fan of Jay White counter work, and I think that he has started to really find his rhythm in AEW with this Hangman feud, which is to say that they have fucking great chemistry. And it looks like he's going to face Moxley maybe next. Which, I think that will be a very big proving grounds moment for him, especially after his last world title match, which, I think it's the only match to get 6 stars from you, if I'm not mistaken. But
I loved it.
But yeah, no, like I wish it wasn't a rematch. Like, that's the only thing I can really say. And I don't feel like that's necessarily a fair criticism towards the match. But like, when I watch a pay-per-view, when I have to pay for something, it's like, I don't want it to be for something that I've either A, already paid to watch, or B, didn't or got to already watch for free. Like I want to see something completely new or something that really moves the product forward in a new way. And I didn't feel like that this match did either of those. I thought it was just another good Adam Page and Jay White match.
I like this match. I thought it was well done. And again, I liked the storyline heading up to it. The build was pretty good. Basic enough, but still, I appreciated it compared to a lot of the other stuff with people getting kidnapped and cars trying to run people over and God knows what else. This was just a basic feud. I think Jay is much better as a tag wrestler for the most part, because I think a lot of his bad habits come out in singles when he's on his own. But I thought Hangman actually figured out a way to kind of get around that. He really kept the pace up. He didn't let it slow to a crawl or anything like that. Some of the counter work was silly, but also kind of good. I wish that this match wasn't on the same show as the MJF and Roderick deal, because it was another very similar limb work type of match here. A lot of the Hangman leg work I also don't think was very good on his part. Just in terms of execution, I think that's something that's not really part of his game, and I don't think he performed it very well with a lot of the ankle work that he was doing. But still, they had a good back and forth segment here. I thought the match kept the fans' interest, and they ended up having a good run at the end. I will say this. We had Superman's Switchblade here with the Dead Eyes kick out, like back-to-back here, like near falls. And it just set up him countering the ankle lock into the Blade Runner to get the win right away.
Dude, that was such a fucking clean finish. Like when you look at the sudden, especially when you look at like the suddenness, sort of like flash style of the previous one, I think they showed you exactly how to do it in this one.
Yeah, the execution was phenomenal with the finish. I don't know about kicking out of the Dead Eyes over and over, like why that was necessary. Hangman's one of these guys, kind of like Stat, where I just think that for whatever reason that they just think that he's kind of like bulletproof, or I don't want to say they don't care about him, but it feels like he loses a lot. And I think that they could probably do a little bit better job protecting some of these people.
That's a sorry to interrupt, but there's a fucking great point. Is something I wanted to touch on. In that you remember the GCW Hammerstein show and how all their big people lost, and they were kind of like, what the fuck? Like, I thought this was GCW. I thought last night's show, Stat, Ospreay, Page, and Swerve all losing, I thought was such a weird feeling, because I'm like, these are your top stars right now and not people that you should just cycle out. Like, you don't need to make new stars right now. You need to capitalize on the fucking stardom of these guys still. And it felt really weird to me to have all four of them drop singles on the same night. Stat, not so much, but for Ospreay, Hangman, and Swerve, it was just, felt like a direction in the wrong way to me. And we'll talk about the losses more later, but sorry, just really wanted to add on to what you were saying.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that they're trying to build Jay up again for a title shot. I think the babyface run is definitely better than the heel stuff he was doing. I mean, you could talk about it. Like, a lot of the worst matches in the history of this company was his singles matches. Like, whether it was Do you like him more as a singles babyface wrestler, do you think? Like, he does less of the stalling and stuff like that you don't really like as a babyface? Well, like I said, I mean, the heel stuff was some of the worst shit ever. Like, the MJF match, the Billy Gunn match this year. Another terrible match. Like, here with the babyface stuff, it's not that bad. I definitely think it's better than what he was doing. I think the best usage of him, though, would be in the tag role, to be honest. If it were up to me, I think him and Juice could have like a really great tag titles run. I definitely think his promos have improved a lot too. A big problem I had with him as a heel last year, that MJF feud, all of his promos were like, I am the Switchblade. You breathe with the Switchblade. Because I'm King Switch, the leader of the Bang Bang Gang. And it's like, blah, blah, blah. You say the same catchphrase bullcrap promo over and over and over, and it's like he had like 27 like names he's monikers he's given himself and accolades that he just says in all of his promos, and that's it. There's no depth to his actual character, which like if you listen to his fans, they portrayed him as like this very like thinking man's type of guy, but if you listen to his promos, there's absolutely zero depth to what he was saying.
Yeah.
Even now, it's not like he's rewriting the book on promo work, but I think he's got a really good vibe to him. I think that's one thing that he has. Like he's got an ultra confident delivery that I think really works and makes people want to rally behind him. Kind of, this is kind of a weird comparison, because he doesn't go into the weird directions that this man did, but he kind of reminds me of The Rock almost, like his promo style, where he's like complete, like his confidence level is so high that kind of carries him, even though his material is not, there's just not a lot of depth to a lot of what he's saying, to be honest.
No, I mean, totally agree. I think that him and Ospreay, when they both came into this company, they were like two top guys in the world that had to sort of start over in terms of a brand new challenge. And I think that Ospreay found his footing a lot quicker than White. But this is the most I've enjoyed Jay White in AEW so far.
I agree with that.
Outside of his tag match with Juice, and I think also going back to that, the tag team, I should say, going back to like that FTR tag match, that 55-minute one.
Yeah, that was amazing.
To me, Jay, and in New Japan as well, has always been a super finisher guy. So maybe that's why the two Deadeyes didn't bother me as much. Like, I am a sucker for a Jay White kick out. I think he does those like 99% dead kickouts really fucking well. So like for him to kick out of that stuff, like he's always been presented as a guy in AEW from the get-go as a dude that is just unbelievably hard to put away. So that felt consistent for me, at least. But I can totally see like people having issues with it, especially like after like I just complained about Roddy and MJF.
Yeah, and I think that, I mean, it's funny because he became a hot topic on Twitter the day before the show. Like people were debating. Some people have turned on him. Some people love him. It's kind of a thing with him. And I think this match, and I think this whole run really with Page is going a long way into getting people on his side again, because I do think a lot of people have kind of jumped off his bandwagon. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was never on it. I was like the original Jay White hater in New Japan. I never liked his work. I thought he was like super overrated in New Japan. I didn't see him as any kind of major signing, and he really wasn't. Like in terms of what he did, but I think that they've done a good job of keeping him relevant enough for his fans to still believe in him. And now with this babyface run, we're seeing people start to like give him another shake at it. And I think that he's done a good job as this babyface run so far. We'll see. I mean, again, we're going to talk about the Death Riders, and we'll see how that goes. But I think they've at least built him up, and this win has built him up enough to where he feels like, okay, he's a legit challenger at least for the title. So that's good stuff. So after that, Hangman attacks Jay White, and Chris Daniels comes out. He's like, "Hey, you can't attack him," and Hangman just punches him in the face, and he just walks off.
God, Christopher Daniels is the biggest nerd.
Yeah, he is. they turned him into a huge geek character-wise. Don't love Hangman taking it in a loss here. I think and I'm usually a defender and be like, people shouldn't get that crazy over it. Like, when he takes losses, he's got his role. He's still a top guy. I do think we're getting a little over the top. Like they need to give him some win at some point.
No, and it was very weird for him to get that big win over Swerve and then to lose twice to Jay White. And then again, like for Swerve to lose another big one after, but we'll talk about it. So
we've got Ospreay Fletcher. Another feud I think is one of the better ones they've done here. Where, again, you have a very believable story here. Fletcher feels like Ospreay's held him down. He said that, like, you took me under your wing. Yes, you helped me. You did all this great stuff. But you kept me under your wing, so I would never fly higher than you. I thought that was, like, very good heel reasoning to justify his turn.
Yeah, the thesis being, like, what is it? I'm not called. They used to call me the next big thing. Now they call me the next Will Ospreay. Is really like the core frustration here.
But I thought Ospreay's comeback was very logical too when they're face to face this past Wednesday, where Fletcher was going on and on. He's like, how can you criticize me for turning on you when you turned on Omega? You turned on Okada. And then Ospreay was like, well, a second ago you said you didn't want to be like me, and now you're saying you did the same thing I did. So which is it? No, yeah.
To live in a shadow is a curse. And I think that, AEW does a lot of story stuff, like you talked about earlier. The criticisms that they do not do story are not fair. I think that their issue is that they do a lot of story, but that doesn't necessarily make it compelling. This was one of the few compelling stories coming into the show, I thought.
Mama, my grandma,
shout out.
Shout out to Mama. She was over here watching AEW with us the last few weeks. And the first time she saw Kyle Fletcher, the first thing she said was, "Oh my God, what's going on with his hair?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know." And then literally that same episode was the one where he shaved his head. And she's like, "Yes, he listened to me." On there. So she thinks it's a big improvement. What do you think of the shaved head look for Fletcher?
I mean, dude, he just looks like kind of like Orton is what he reminds me of.
Yeah, he kind of does. Yeah, that's a
really
good point.
Young Orton.
Yeah, he's got like the shades with him too, a little bit on there, coming out there. He's got his heel look going. So yeah, good story work here. The promo he cut when he shaved his head was bad, I would say. Like the fans kind of turned on it, but they clearly see he's another one. I mean, it's obvious after this match. He's another one. He's a project. They want him to be a top star, and they're going to give him every chance it takes to get him there. And I think that's what we've seen. You could tell who Tony Khan's favorites are. Him, Mercedes, like all of these people that keep getting chance after chance and all of this. And it is what it is. I mean, Jungle Boy, like we'll talk about him later. Hopefully that's coming to an end. But still, this match was good stuff, I thought. It's got a high rating on Cage here, 9.23. What did you think of this match?
Yeah, I thought that this was, probably top 3 on the show for me, along with Stat and Mercedes and probably the main event.
Yeah, that would be my top 3 as well.
Yeah, and it was really good. Like, I expected a great match. Again, I just wish I wouldn't have seen it so close before. It had a completely different dynamic this time, which I appreciated. But again, like, I wish it wasn't so close. That's all, really. Like, that's my main criticism and complaint with the match is just the proximity to the last one. But I thought Fletcher wrestled his ass off. Do I see him as a future main eventer? Not necessarily still. Do I see what they see in him? Not completely, but I don't think that in any way did his performance indicate that he did not deserve the spot tonight. I think that he completely fulfilled his role and, really did a damn great job. So I'm excited to see what's next for him. It's, it's going to be interesting because now you have him and Takeshita in the same group. And I think that things can get congested, right? So it's, and also what the fuck does Mark Davis honestly do now? The only thing I can think of is him doing a tag team with Ospreay, but I'm I really don't know what this guy has to offer at this point.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have to find his footing, for sure. I think if you were going to criticize something about this, and I guess you could say this about anybody, but especially here, there was a sequence where Ospreay hit a Stun Dog Millionaire. He hit a tombstone on the floor, which was no-sold almost immediately. He was up in a matter of seconds. Ospreay hit a spiral tap. He hit a Spanish fly, hit a Styles Clash, hit the Hidden Blade, and they did a tombstone from the apron onto the steel steps on the outside, did a pile driver from Fletcher, and then the brain buster on the top turnbuckle led to the finish. I mean, there was so many, to me, the tombstone from the apron to the steps.
That's a finisher.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that's not just a finisher. That's an ambulance spot. Like
I would have liked it if Fletcher won via countout after that. I think would have been really impressive as well. To not get the pin yet, I think would have been huge, because then you can come back to it and you have a whole other ripple still, right? And I think there's something very dominating about getting that type of win where it's not like, oh, you got the pinfall. It's like this guy didn't walk out on his own feet.
Yeah, exactly. I like that would have been perfect. Like if that had happened, he hit that tombstone to the steps. And then, like you said, he lost by countout. Not a pin that gives room for this to continue logically. And would give a big angle for Ospreay to come back from. Because I don't know how I feel about this match happening and then Ospreay just going into the C2. You know, like
do you think he goes into the C2?
I mean, we don't know right now. It's not been announced. But I do think he would be a big candidate that the fans would want to see based on his wrestling. You know, that the AEW fans would want to see. But I don't know if they should do it after this match, how it played out overall. Still, though, I think that would have been a great finish. I was shocked to see Fletcher win clean, to be honest with you. With the El Generico finish, he actually hit the Helluva kick before the Brainbuster on the top rope as well. So clearly he's got a good inspirations, but I just thought, man, there was so much that happened, but you're not watching this match, in my opinion, and thinking, these guys are going to put on a technical masterpiece, the selling clinic with amazing psychology. Like, nobody thinks that about this match. We knew what this match was going to be, a balls to the wall, like type of match where everything gets thrown out until one man's left standing. And that's what we got. And I think it worked. I think if they had done your finish, if they had just ended it after the tombstone on the steps, and that had been this major angle, I think that would have made it my match of the night. But I think by the end of it, I liked the Monet and Statlander match a little bit more. Just because I thought it was a little too overdone at the end. But I mean, I can only criticize it so much. At the end, it was still a great performance by both men. And like you said, Fletcher, he may be one of the chosen ones and the handpicked guys, but he's proving that, hey, there is something to this. Like with him, like this is not a bad pick overall to build around. I don't think Ospreay should have lost here either. That's a big problem with this company, in my opinion. We're talking about Jay White getting the title shot and being this babyface guy when he was like a comedic heel not that long ago. Who are the top babyfaces in this company right now that are like, who is
got to be Jay, OC, and Darby feel like their current pick for this Moxley run.
I think OC got taken out. Like, I think he's about to take a step back after this feud. Darby, yes, for sure. And look what happened to him on Wednesday. He got destroyed in his match.
Oh, with Claudio. So admittedly,
awesome.
I have not been watching as much live television lately, just because it can either be a little hard during the week, or I haven't been as captivated to watch weekly, honestly.
Yeah. But that's the thing. I mean, there are no strong babyfaces at the top of this company right now. And Jay gets it just because he's the only one that got a win on this show. It feels like here. And hopefully his promo skills can lead to him. I think like an overly confident, like not like we need somebody who's, and that's another thing. I had mentioned it earlier with all these babyfaces being cowardly. Jay White, say what you want about him, has never like been short on bravado. I think we need that kind of character to be like, the Death Riders don't scare me. Like, like I've been the champion in New Japan. I could beat Moxley. Like, I'm not afraid of you guys. Like, let's go. Like, we need that kind of confident babyface.
Jay White and Moxley led a faction called Death Riders in my fantasy promotion. So I don't think you understand how awesome this is for me. It's a long time Jay White and John Moxley Death Riders mark. No,
show me that journey of wrestling save right now.
I will.
Yeah, but no, I think it could be good. Like, but the fact is, he's still not. To me, Jay White is not at top star level. Like, I agree with that criticism online that was said here at AEW or among AEW fans. I don't think he should be the champion right now, to be honest. And maybe he'll get there with this feud, and maybe he'll build himself up to the point where it feels like it's his time. But right now, I think the babyface side, they have not done a good job of building top stars that are babyfaces. And I think the end game of all of this will be, again, we're jumping ahead a little bit. I do think the end game will be Darby by the end. But I wish that they would make these guys a little bit stronger and heroes that we can believe in. And I think Ospreay was that at one point. I don't mind Ospreay because there was a big talk about Ospreay and Swerve earlier in the year. In hindsight, I think they did good. Like, I think Swerve was a great champion. It was kind of weird how he turned super heel on Bryan before their match, but it's fine. Like, the match was an amazing match. Like, and it worked out. Swerve is the main event level guy for sure now, but I just don't think. I mean, with the loss, he's gonna need to be built up a little bit too as well. So, let's work on this babyface side a little bit. I think we need when it comes to AEW.
When is the Mariah May thing?
That hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
I think that's coming up, actually. Yeah. Okay. So here we are. So here comes Mina Shirakawa.
Okay. I'm going to say this just so I can remember because I wanted to talk about making baby faces after this segment because that's what it made me think of.
Yeah. Okay. So Mina comes out and she's all like, Mariah's the greatest champion ever. She'll reign forever, blah, blah, blah. Mariah's coming out, and she's like, I'm the only one who deserves this. Nobody can beat me. And they end up doing the champagne toast, and they're dancing, and Mariah's like, Mina, you do your celebration. Come on. So Mina does her, boob shaking thing that they love to do. And suddenly May is like doing like this is so like sitcom style here, where she's like doing dancing. She dances her way over to the champagne bottle so she can smash. It was very funny. I do have to admit this. I hate the segment that was on pay-per-view, but that was good. Mariah is one of the better comedic performers to me overall in general.
So sorry. Please continue.
Let me finish this segment. We'll go through our big thoughts. So she grabs the bottle. She's about to deck Mina with the bottle, but suddenly Mina turns around, ducks the bottle shot, and kicks the bottle out of her hand. And she's like, I saw it coming. And then suddenly Mina grabs, she runs at Mariah, spears her through a table, but comes up short. And they bounce off of this box thing. And then bounce through the table. That breaks anyway. Mina got a bloody lip through all of this. She like kisses Mariah's forehead to leave blood on her forehead. And that was that.
I did like how the end of this segment mirrored when Mariah turned on Tony. Just with the blood visual. I did like that. Man, I love Mariah May. I think Mariah May's an amazing promo, knows exactly what her character is. I like that she sort of re-injected some of this like ferocious sexuality into like the women's scene, but like not at the expense of the women, and it doesn't feel like it's being done by a man, if that makes sense. Because like before, like anytime you see something like this in a wrestling promotion, it's usually like, oh yeah, like I was forced to do this by a booker or something right? Which is so fucking shitty. So it's nice to see like this being done as like a celebration, kind of like powerful thing. That said, I think that when Mariah said it's been a long 4 months, I said, holy shit, you've been champion for 4 months, because I can't think of a single fucking match. And I think that's the number one thing. Yeah, they do not have a single baby face for the women's main event division because, one, they're feeding them all to Mercedes because she's the bigger star. But it's left Mariah with literally nothing to do but just to keep her thing going with like this celebration type gimmick or whatever. And like, it's just crazy for me that they really do not have more for her. And I think that they've completely failed her on this title run, and that, it seems like Tony will be back and that they'll probably do her versus Tony at All In Australia. And I could see Tony maybe winning it back then. But I'm like, what a complete waste of like 8 months or however long it is. Like, it's really heartbreaking to me because everything that led up to this was so good. It was like a Hangman Omega level of investment, right? And over a year. And And it's like they had absolutely no follow up for her, and it sucks to see.
I watched her entire Stardom run.
Same, so fucking good.
And I saw how, like, a lot of people say that she improved a lot, but she was actually good from the start, like way better than anybody expected. And really did a great job in Stardom. I thought like the stuff she was doing, she's great, and you could tell she's got a great mind for social media. Like she knows how to use Twitter to pop the fans, really build up her popularity, grassroots level. Her AEW appearance was like one of the best ones, like that they ever did before that show. And she's like in real life a really charming and charismatic person. So I was so confused. And like you said, that the build up to her Toni Storm turn, when the shoe angle where they bloodied her, that was one of the better angles I remember AEW doing. And definitely one of the best women's angle that they've ever done. I thought it was great. Even though I'm not a big fan of the Toni Storm comedy stuff, I thought that angle was phenomenal. I think ever since then, they've really, like, it's not been a good ride. Like this whole run. I actually don't think her promos have been very good as champion, unfortunately. I think she's really lost a step, and I'm not sure why that is exactly. I remember when she came out after she beat Toni with the title, and I just remember this promo got like just a total negative reaction, and I was so surprised by it. And I don't think her performances have been up to snuff. And like you said, in terms of match quality, there's literally nothing there in this title reign. So I just don't understand why this is the champion if this is what you're going to do with her. It's unfortunate. Mina is such, and again, what you said is so true. The shaking the boob stuff, they want to do this. Like, that's been Mina's gimmick her entire career in Japan, pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, so it's not, like you said, it's better for that than, like you said, if it was just some weirdo booker. Like, obviously, like, if that were the case, then it's, like, gross for real. This is just more so, I would rather them focus on the wrestling than the sexual aspects of it. Like, if it were just up to me, that's just my personal preference. They have this other way to go about it. But I think we're seeing a lot of the fan reaction that is against this. I think some people are still, I wouldn't say I'm uncomfortable with it because of the reason that you just said. Like, we know, if you followed any of their career, like, we know this is their vision. And so, like, we have to respect that on that level.
They've had, like, just personally. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I just personally would rather see like a Statlander. Like, to me, the division needs a serious tone with their champion, like a wrestler as the champion right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, and I think that type of wrestler legitimizes a division, and that's what they need right now. Because Mariah should have done that after Toni, and the problem is they just didn't have anyone for her to help do that. Yeah. Totally didn't even factor in that this means we're getting a Mariah Mina match until, like, right now somehow, and that should probably be the best match of her reign. I think you could get a good cup. You could probably take this into All In, and I hope that this is so good that it really helps define the title reign. I would also love to see Mina come in full time. Like, I think she is very much a transitional star, the same way Arina Yamashita is, just so unbelievably charismatic and has a very unique connection with U.S. audiences.
Yeah, absolutely. Even though, again, this gimmick doesn't really do much for me, I think that she is extremely charismatic. Like, that's a no question about that. The look is amazing, no doubt. Like, the fans love her. She's easily rootable. You know, like, you could root for her very easily. So I definitely see that. And I think Tony Khan even said they asked him about her, and he was like, yeah, I'm looking forward to her a lot more. Like, get used to her on TV. It was like more or less his answer there. So they love her clearly, and she's great in her own way. I don't think she's, like, in ring. I would not say she's a great wrestler at all, to be honest. But I think that she's good enough, and her charisma level is very high. And that's good. But again, I think that we've been at a year with the Timeless Tony stuff, then the Mariah stuff, and now this. I'm ready for this belt. And the problem is, I feel like the belt has unquestionably lost a lot of its luster from where it used to be. But the division as a whole feels like it's kind of in flux in general right now with Mercedes and Mariah as the champions. So we'll see how that plan works out, because I totally agree with you. I think Tony's getting the belt in Australia. For Mina, it's a question of will it be at World's End or will they do it in Japan, like at Wrestle Dynasty? If I had to guess, I bet they do it at World's End, because I think that they are. I don't know how many matches New Japan's going to want to have women's matches on there. So I think it'll be at World's End, but I could see them pushing that to a Japan date.
Yeah, no, I definitely hope for World's End, because Mariah needs to have a match on a pay-per-view. Like I can't tell you when her last pay-per-view match was.
Why? And that's another thing. Why couldn't they have just done this on TV? Like, and I think people were against this segment before it even happened. I know a lot of people are making fun of the table thing at the end, but I think people were against this just for it existing on pay-per-view. It should have been on TV. Mm-hmm. But I thought it was fine. Like you said, I like the ending with the blood and stuff. Like the callback to that was well done. I like that Mina. I like that they didn't just have Mariah destroy Mina here. Like, because I think that would be too similar to what they did before. You actually had Mina counter it. So I do like that.
Yeah, she learned. I like that.
Yeah. We need baby faces that are smart. As good. So good stuff for Mina there. Again, I'm skeptical of this character, but we'll see how it goes. So Jungle Boy. What do you think of them kidnapping him? Tying him to the front hood of his bus or whatever this is, and then and all leading to him smashing out a headlight.
This 100% had to have all been Jack Perry's idea. He's like, I want you guys to fucking tie me up. I want you to torture me. Like, this feels like such a Jack Perryism at this point. These like ultra dark sort of like out there things. Dude, he's done stuff like this his whole run. And I just feel like it doesn't like he doesn't have the look that like matches this menacing fucking evil character. Like he acts like Switchblade, but looks like Jungle Boy still.
But he has a beard.
Fuck, you're right. Oh my God, I forgot about that.
Hello, come on, that changes everything.
Yeah, right. No, it's just I don't know. Like I liked his run at first. I thought, okay. I liked his match with Shibata. I was one of the few I feel like who did like it. But yeah, this now that the title reign has ended, I feel like overall it was definitely a dud. I would say that, even Okada's reign has been a dud. Pretty much the entire Elite thing at this point, I think we can call a dud. Yeah, I think that Okada's title reign will definitely come to play in this C2, and we'll see if it was worth a damn at all. Yeah. Did I tell you my fantasy C2 booking is a Shibata Okada finals?
That would be great.
That would be, and then Shibata finally wins the title.
That would be so brilliant if that happened. I would love it. Like I would message Tony Khan personally to be like, "This was brilliant, dude." Like, if that happened.
Yeah, I'll unblock his number and send him a text. So
I don't have his number, but I will message him on Twitter to do it.
What did you think of this segment?
Oh, it was just awful. Like I thought it was like just awful. And Jungle Boy, it's obvious he's trying to like. You could see him try to tease like this religious like ties into it. He told him like I'm a sacrifice. Like that's his whole stuff pretty much. Like that's his whole character. Even when he faced Bryan Danielson, where he put his arms out, he was like, "Go ahead, take me out. I'm a sacrifice." He was like, "People like me get sacrificed in this life to be worshipped in the next." And it's like, fuck off. Well, like, what are you talking about, man? Like, you're Jungle Boy. Like, you're Jack Perry. You grew up the son of an actor. Like, what are you talking about right now? Nobody can buy into this, and I just don't know why. Danny Garcia and Daddy Magic are involved in this, where they're kidnapping people, and they went through this whole deal where they tied him to the front of the bus. They drove out this Hollywood style thing, which is totally insane and highly illegal. By the way, like Danny Garcia should clearly be in prison for this. All to build up to this big. They tied him to a chair. He pulls the crowbar out. And he smashes a headlight in. And even Jungle Boy was like, that's it? Like, that was literally his reaction. Go back and watch that segment. He was like, that's it? And that's what I was thinking. I was like, that's it? Like, that's what this all led to? You smashed a headline out? And what? Why? Who cares? Who could care about this man's
Because you're
bust?
a baby face that doesn't actually have the courage to truly hurt someone. It's the classic baby face thing. I'll pick up the weapon, but I won't use it.
See, there was a great. I'm about to make another reference. We'll see if you get this this time, Nello. But I bet some listeners will, because there was a big thread on Twitter recently that got me thinking about this, where they showed in Teen Titans, Robin, like, basically there was a scene where he basically, like, very casually threw, like, ice, like, this female villain was talking about, like, oh, Batman doesn't kill anybody. And then Robin just casually pulls out, like, ice grenades, freezes her, and then hits a flying kung fu kick and shatters her into pieces. And everyone was like, this guy's a lunatic. And everyone was talking about how awesome it was. Where he was like, you know, Batman, if you're not familiar with his character in the comics, Batman refuses to kill the Joker because he feels like that will ruin his heroic stature or whatever, or his soul or whatever. Robin doesn't play by those rules, clearly. And it was awesome. Like, everyone loved it in the thread. We need more of that than Batman not wanting to kill people. We need Nightwing. We don't need Batman right now. And in the context of AEW.
Yeah, no, I love that. I totally agree. I think if they actually hurt Jack and then you had him come into the match like that, that would have made it seem a lot more sacrificial. And
it would have justified his character somewhat, because his whole character makes no sense considering who he is. He is literally one of the handpicked guys in real life and on the show.
I thought Jack Perry hit his stride as a heel when he was feuding with Hook, and now it's just gone. Like, I liked Jack Perry as, like, the rich kid who was, like, hopping into the back of the SUV as it drove away. Like, that shit was hilarious.
That was
good. That's the kind of heel he is. It feels like that he's made to play, because his look, his hair, all these things, they all very much reek like Hollywood chicken shit. And I feel like you can't do this, like, underprivileged sacrificial thing again with, like, this type of character, as you said.
And even then, it's another one where the fans have to totally disregard reality to believe in it, because this whole thing started because of the Punk thing, where they showed the video footage of the backstage thing and all of that stuff. Did we ever talk about that? Like, I feel like that may have been, we may have, or it might have been right at the end of the first one. But they did this whole thing where they showed the footage of him and Punk backstage, and it was really dumb, in my opinion. But for us to believe him as this sacrificial lamb character, he, like, Punk got fired. Like, he's the one who got fired, not you. Like, you're here. Like, you're part of the elite. You're getting titles. You're the handpicked guy. What are you talking about? Like, again, you have to disbelieve the reality that they've shown us in their own show, much like the MJF and Adam Cole thing, to get behind this character. And it fails on every level. And he's not the kind of performer that can pull this off, ultimately. It's like, remember at the end, another problem, one of the many issues with the Devil storyline. Afterwards, they had Adam Cole try to be like this dark, intimidating heel leader presence. That's not him. like he is a cocky, like, asshole, like jock asshole, not like dark emo, dark leader. No, like, what are you doing? That's not this guy. Like you said, your vision of his heel character for Jack Perry is a lot better than what they've actually gone with. And I thought they had a potential to do that. Remember when he came out the very first time after he turned heel, and he was talking about, he cut that heel promo. He talked about how he was bragging about how he was banging Anna Jay, like, and all of that stuff.
Oh my God, this was the one where he was like, yeah, I'm about to go back to LA where there aren't wildfires or something like that.
Yeah. See, if we had that I could get behind that Jack Perry heel character. They never really went to that direction, and the elite stuff, like you said, everybody failed in that one. The Young Bucks, Okada, him, it all sucked. So you can't put it all on him, but I am glad this title reign is over with, I will say. And Danny Garcia made it feel like a big deal. I thought the match, it's got a 6.89 rating, which feels about right. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't anything special to me. I thought it was a decent match. Went a little long, in my opinion. I think they could have cut a little time on this, and the feud was mind-boggling. That the build up to this was ridiculous. What do you think of Garcia as the champion? Because I think you're muted.
I am muted. Sorry.
Yeah.
Was it just me, or did it feel like they rushed him out of that arena after he won the title?
It was really fast, actually.
It felt so rushed and like non-celebratory to me that I was just kind of like, okay. Like it literally felt like he was running up the ramp as Rick Knox was shouting at him, and he's like holding up the title while trying to like put his towel on his head. And I was like, while Jack Perry's still in the ring, and I'm like, why is he leaving before? Like, what the fuck is happening?
Let your babyface have a big win.
Yeah, like let him have a moment. It felt like remember when Christopher Daniels and Kazarian had like their last ever match as a tag team, and like literally within 2 seconds of the match ending, they just cut to a backstage segment. It's like, what the fuck? Like, let something breathe.
Yeah, I hate that. AEW constantly makes this mistake.
Yep.
Yeah, another good example. It kind of felt like a big deal.
I'm really, really happy Garcia's champion. Yeah. I think that is that's one of the most positive directions from this pay-per-view. Like a lot of the big guys losing, I didn't necessarily agree with, but I thought Garcia getting the win here is hopefully going to open up a new chapter for that division.
I think he's a great choice to have like weekly title defenses.
Yeah. I hope he brings that gimmick back.
Yeah, I hope so too. I think they should really rehab this title. I think Jack, he might need to go for a while. Like go with the Young Bucks, I would say, because I don't think there's a lot of life left in this character as it is.
Yep.
Up next, Ricochet and Takeshita. Really not a lot of storyline for this. Just Takeshita cost Ricochet a couple of times before, and now he wants to finally get his one-on-one shot, and we're doing that. So this match, I think most people thought was pretty disappointing. It's got a 6.94 rating. Ricochet was doing a lot of talking during the week, where he was talking about how he is the one that can carry the company. He wants to prove that he is, one of the top guys in the whole world. I thought the match was good. I think this match struggled in terms of, for me, I did not think Ricochet has been built up really at all to get this title shot. I mean, he's got a title shot in Japan as well on January 5th. They've kept him around. It's not like they've completely forgotten him, but I don't think they've done a lot of great build-up with him so far. So I really wasn't buying him getting the title here. I didn't think there was a lot of drama. They really didn't even build to too many great near falls. I think that Takeshita's great. We all know how talented he is as a wrestler for sure. But I thought in the end, this was a good match. I think it would have been better served on a show where it would be the match on the show rather than in the middle of this show with a lot of like great wrestling on it.
Yeah. Just like the private party match, this is Takeshita's first big title defense. I did not see him losing this, especially after beating Adam Cole and taking him out of the pay-per-view. So again, like this was a match that didn't have a lot of tension. When we get to the main event, we'll talk about that too. But like, I didn't think that they were able to sort of break free from their situation and constraints at all. It's been like when you look at like I gave the Takeshita Ospreay Ricochet match 5 stars. Like I thought that match was fucking phenomenal. I loved it. It's one of my favorites of the year.
Okay.
This was nothing like that, and I think that it also had really high expectations. Ricochet didn't meet them, but it was a good performance still.
Yeah, Meltzer gave it 5.5 stars. The triple threat match.
Gang.
Funny thing is, on Cage Match, that match has a 9.18 rating. The match he had literally 1 week later against Speedball has a 9.19 rating.
Wow.
So 0.1 points ahead. They're there for that one. So good stuff. Takeshi's just had a great run in general this year. He's amazing in so many ways. But Yeah, I definitely agree. I think the triple threat was a lot better than this match here. For whatever reason, it just didn't connect. We'll see where they go from here. Takeshita, I really wish he would just like. I feel like he's destined to be a top babyface. Like he plays the heel role good. I really dislike the Don Callis family just in general.
Yeah.
I think that he would be better off on his own, and I think he's been actually protected pretty strongly. It's the fear if you turn him into a babyface, is he just going to be like Osprey where he loses these matches? By the way, I have no doubt, knowing Osprey how he is about wrestling, I have zero doubt that he wanted to lose that match to Fletcher. I don't think there was any chance that was like they twisted his arm to do it. I think he was happy to put him over. I just don't think it was the right move if it were me. But still, I don't want to insinuate anything like that. Even though I said Fletcher was a handpicked guy, I know Osprey sees that in Fletcher too, and he had no problem doing that. Takeshita needs that kind of putting over, in my opinion. So they recap the Swerve and Lashley storyline. I've absolutely loved Shelton Benjamin on AEW ever since he's debuted. That's been one of my favorite parts of the show, honestly, was his like mini push that he got coming into the company. It's like, okay, we're going to give Shelton these spotlight matches. They were all great. The fans love him. MVP's a great talker. They built him up so good that it actually made Lashley coming in even bigger, because it felt like he was coming in. It's not like, okay, we have this fall guy that Lashley's coming in. It's like, okay, Shelton's been a good guy. Up there, had a great match with Swerve on the Halloween episode, and that led to Lashley debuting. It felt like this is a powerhouse faction for real. Yep. And I thought they did an excellent job with that. Ever since they started this feud with Swerve, I think it's been a little tough because I think the fans want to cheer the Hurt Syndicate. Is the problem, because they're awesome. is the problem. Like, everyone loves Shelton. MVP got great reactions from the crowd because everyone knows how great of a talker he is. Lashley rules. We all love him. It's really hard to keep these guys as heels. And I kind of hope whatever they like, now that we've got this Swerve stuff is going to go in the rearview mirror. I think they should be the top baby faces, because like Lashley feels like he hasn't been jobbed out yet. You haven't had a chance to really mess him up, and he feels like a big star. So I would say the Hurt Syndicate's one of the best things in terms of booking that AEW's done really in the whole year. But since they feuded with Swerve, I think they've done some stupid stuff as well. Like this past week where like they entered in their Hummer or whatever, they came in their SUV or whatever. And they were doing the interview, and Swerve literally like ran up onto Lashley and hit him in the head, and then laughed about it and ran away like a troll guy. And Lashley was like, "What the?" And it was like such a weirdo like segment. And it's like, why did he do that? And then you had another one where suddenly there was just a guy that just so happened to be wearing this fur coat that Swerve wears, and they turn him around. It's like, "Hey, you're not Swerve." They just beat him up anyway. It was really silly to me, but I do think they've been back and forth on this. The match, though. What do you think of the match here? I mean, Swerve, I think, has been one of the biggest positives of AEW this year. I think they've done a really good job. When he was the champion, we never talked about this. I really didn't like how they started his title reign. If you remember, he was feuding with Christian. He was feuding with the Embassy. And I was like, why? This is a problem with the Death Riders, too, that I think AEW needs to stop doing. They have a real bad habit of having main event top star people interacting with these like job guys. Mm-hmm. Like, no, he should not be getting beaten down by the gates of agony. Like, I'm sorry. Like, that should not be happening. Your world champion should never be in that position under any circumstances. But after that, I thought they did a good job. Him and Osprey was a good like 50-50 feud. You could justify it either way. I have no problem with Swerve winning. I know that's been another talking point. I think they've done a good job with him. And ever since then, I think his performances have been so strong that he's really made everything work. Whether it was the Hangman thing, the Bryan Danielson thing. And this was the first time we saw cracks in his armor. I feel like, and it's not his fault at all. It was really just the booking. I thought veered a little bit too silly at times, but still, this match. What'd you think of it?
One of the better Lashley singles matches I've seen, because like, and that was my whole thing going into this, is like, my mentality was like, this should and could be one of Lashley's best matches, right?
Yeah.
And that had really high expectations. I don't think they necessarily met them. Some really impressive power stuff on Lashley's part, where I thought he did have a diverse enough offense to where he didn't come in and just like be like a WWE only his moves guy. I was hoping for a different finisher than the Hurt Lock thing or whatever, but it makes sense. But yeah, I thought it was good, not great. And, I would like to think that they have a better match in them, and that we'll probably get to see it down the line. I don't think that this is the end of this feud. But I'm excited to see what happens next. I would personally love to see Swerve get like, a faction together as well to combat them.
Yeah, that would be good.
So, because I think that, and also like right now, I think that you could have Hurt Business do a trios run. I think is where the money is at for them, is to do like a really just impressive trios title run. They could probably do.
I'd be up for that. I think they would. I don't know if they want MVP to wrestle. They might need another member for that.
And if not, tag titles. They would
tease the stuff with Leo Rush. Yeah.
They would.
Tag title would be great.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that they would be the perfect sort of cool heels to take out a Private Party, and you could really do a match that's like, a definitive, almost like just beatdown style match to really cement them. I think of like a Brody Lee versus Cody Rhodes, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, I'm all for Shelton and Lashley as tag champions. That would be great. I just want to see them. Like I said, I really think they're gonna have a hard time keeping these guys heels. Like if things keep going how they're going. But we'll see how it goes. I like the match a lot. I thought it was really well done. I think Swerve is one of their best overall performers, and he has been for years now. And he's really gotten the chance to show it this year. His work finally got recognized. He should have been at this level 2 years ago, probably, but they finally got around to it, and I think that he's done a great job. Lashley, I think, is a really great guy to have. Like, very impactful, high power, and is a unique guy on this roster, where he's that perfect mix of like a WWE guy, but he actually lays his stuff in. He's not a weak, sports entertainment guy. He is positioned as a legit badass, which I think this company needs. And we'll see how it goes. But I love your idea of the tag title run. They've been teasing people joining the Hurt Syndicate, though. Whether there was Leo Rush, they've worked that on TV. Which would be a reuniting Leo Rush and Lashley, who were paired before in WWE at times. You've got they did the thing with Max Caster, which I'm not into that. if that happened, and also in real life, Shelton Caster criticized Shelton coming in. He's saying like, we don't need Shelton on this roster. And Shelton was like, I saw that and I was like, who is this? That was like this. It was very, very good. I love Shelton. He was one of my idols as a wrestler, so I was super hyped for that run. One thing I mentioned too, or I did mention it, I want to mention it now to kind of go back to that Mercedes match. I think what I would have done, especially leading to this, I mean, ideally we could have held off this stat match for a little while longer, but I think with this coming, what I would have done is had Mercedes bring out Stokely in the build up to this, sort of the car stuff. And, yeah, because that turn was so abrupt, like Stat's babyface turn, and like they were together 1 week, and then the next week they weren't, and she's like, "Yeah, like I'm a born again Christian now," and I was like, "Huh?" Yeah, like, and then she's a babyface again. Although I will say the babyface remix of Statlander's theme song is one of the best in the company. I feel like that's a champion level theme song they've given her. But I would have had Stokely come with Mercedes and so like have her drop Camille and have Stokely be Mercedes' manager.
I feel like you can make so much fucking money with those two. I don't know why they keep giving Stokely people and then dropping them. Like, it's just.
Yeah, I mean, there's been rumors about stuff like how they got along outside of the ring might not have been great, but they did do the tease at the end though after that broke up where Stokely had an invoice where it was like $700,000 against Statlander. It was very funny, and Statlander complained in a promo. She was like, he put my CMLL title shot up in a spelling bee or something like that. So it seems like it's okay, but it was just very funny. But it was so random; it doesn't make any sense. It was kind of like, remember when they kicked out AR Fox of Swerve's faction that time?
Yep.
Or it was like 1 week everything's amazing and this is a freaking great run, and then the next week it's over. It's like, huh? So you have to wonder what caused that, because they were a great pairing, Statlander and Stokely. That had a lot of potential. Even though I like Statlander as a babyface. But still, the heel run was doing so good. Her and Willow was an amazing match. That was one of the best AEW matches of the whole year, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Lashley and Swerve, love him. Swerve is great. I mean, he's another one. We talked about Hangman. We talked about Ospreay. All of these guys you mentioned, it's not just tonight is the problem. All of these guys have lost multiple times recently. They have to work on that. I feel like give these guys some big wins. But regardless, after the match, the Hurt Syndicate beat down Swerve a little bit more after the clean win for Lashley with the Hurt Lock. And they beat down Prince Nana as well, which was amusing here. So like you said, maybe they'll do another run with this. I like your idea of Swerve getting a faction too, or at least somebody, a buddy to help him out. Maybe they can reunite Swerve and Our Glory, like the team up against the Hurt Syndicate.
That'd be sick. I mean, I would love to see Keith Lee come back,
Yeah, I miss him. He's good. Well, like I said, they were a great tag team too. Like I said, 2 years ago, they should have already been main eventers. But we'll see what happens. So they recap the main event. They've done so much with this Moxley and Orange Cassidy stuff. And I need to say this Death Riders thing, I think, has been such a dropped ball in so many ways.
We're working for people. We're doing this. We're doing that. But hey, we're never going to move the plot forward or give you a goddamn inkling of what's actually happening. Really fun. My dog is named Moxley, and I hate this fucking angle. So, like,
I mean, you can't get more deep than that, people.
God, it's just so like the whole. I don't know, man. It's all really bad. It's really, really, really bad. And I think like the worst kind of ambiguous, vague storytelling that you can do, because there's really nothing to chew on. It really feels like since he's won the title, we have not moved the page once. It feels like we're still on the first page and all we've written was he fought Orange Cassidy. It's like he came in here to tear down the company, to take over this TBS Superstation, whatever the fuck that means.
That was so stupid. Like that was okay. So I think the first thing that really triggered me with this angle, it made me hate it. I think the usage of Wheeler Yuta has been awful. And I mean, this past week was proof that they've screwed up his character, because they proof that they screwed him up, and that nobody buys Orange Cassidy as a top babyface, because that crowd was dead in that match. And it's a shame, because it was actually a well-worked match. And so here's Yuta, was Brian's, right-hand man, pupil, whatever, leading into their big match with Brian and Moxley. Suddenly, again, after like 5 days earlier, teaming with Brian against these people, strangles him with the paper bag or the plastic bag or whatever. What is the follow-up to that? Nothing. Nothing came about from that at all. Now he's portrayed. He went from that, so he turned on Brian. Shocking angle, whatever. After that, now he's portrayed as like this. It's like he's a hostage almost, or something. They're trying to portray it, and they're like bullying him. And they're saying he's brainwashed, and he's all this. It's so stupid. It makes no freaking sense. Why didn't? And they're trying to, on commentary, they said something to the effect of, well, Yuta, he turned on Brian because he knew that the Death Riders was taking over. He just had to join the winning team. what? Like, it was like, what is that? Like, what kind of character is that? Going in there. So they haven't really done any effective build-up, and they've had him get bullied and look like a geek for no reason. I really think it should have been Orange Cassidy, Garcia, or no, Orange Cassidy, Darby, and Utah should have been the final three at the end of that pay-per-view, instead of Utah joining with the Death Riders. He should be one of the baby faces fighting these guys, not like this subservient guy that they have where they're constantly bullying him. It's really stupid. It makes no sense why he would join with him, because there's no real explanation why he tolerates being treated like this when everything was fine. In terms of the Death Riders, that taking over the Superstation was just embarrassing. And that's the problem with all of this. How? Because they keep telling us. They tell us, they don't show us in this story. They're telling us that they've taken control of the promotion. Like, everything is there. You had Moxley say, "You work for me now." How? What do they do? They don't have any power over Tony Khan. Like, that's never been established at all. They've never done anything. They just do beatdowns over Dark Order and Brandon Cutler. And like, what does that? How are they controlling the company in this storyline?
They're not attacking the main event scene. Look at how many matches were on tonight's card completely unaffected by the Death Riders. All of them.
Like, supposedly run this company.
Exactly. And they have absolutely no effect on anything else that's happening except just the people who suddenly fall into their orbit backstage, who are always low carders, where it's like, and dude, like, the Marina Shafir thing, it's just such a dud. Like, I get it that she's Moxley's friend and she's an MMA person and all that. And like, dude, she's cool on blood sports shows, but you know what? They fucked her up so categorically on AEW television that just inserting her into the main event scene with no build up or anything just makes the main event scene look like more of a joke.
Yeah, and they're already struggling for the reasons we went up and down this whole card to find top baby faces. Another thing I really don't like is that, so at the start of this, and they do the stuff now where they keep the belt in this briefcase, and Moxley had teased a higher power behind all of this. That, like type of deal, like somebody's behind all of this. And they kind of teased that for a couple of weeks, and it seems like they've gone away from that. So it makes me feel like, do they even know what they're doing here? Like, because remember all of that they talked about, well, maybe Shane McMahon is the one that's going to be revealed as the one. And it feels like they've kind of gone away from that, but also kind of not gone away from it at the same time. It's just been it's a sloppy mess that's really hurt a lot of things. And it's unfortunate because I think that in terms of match quality, Moxley, all of these guys, like all of these people are very reliable from Utah on up in terms of wrestling ability. Shafir, the only thing I'll say about that I think you could portray as a positive. I agree with you for the record. I totally agree. She's really out of place and it makes the main event look worse. But I think when the value of this will be revealed, because I like that they don't have her do anything really. They don't have her talk. They don't let her cut bad promos. They don't let her have bad matches. She's literally just a female enforcer for the group. So when another, like a Statlander perhaps, or Willow or somebody like, those would be my two picks, but it could be anybody. When a woman knocks her ass out, that's going to get a huge reaction from the crowd. I feel like they built that, and I think that's where the value will be shown. When somebody steps to her and takes her out, that could work for one of the women. But right now, where we're at, I do agree with you ultimately. But I do think there's potential for that to happen, and that maybe could help somebody if they play it right.
No, and like even when they had Willow come out, just during the main event, it was pretty big.
Yeah. See, so like that shows you that there's at least something to that. But overall, the storyline has not been well done so far. I think they, again, like so many things in AEW, there's a skeleton of a good thing here, but they've handled it in a way that's made it bad, actually. The match itself was good, I thought. Orange Cassidy. Oh, another thing. Cassidy, I don't think his promos have been very good leading into it. A lot of it's material, but also, I remember there was one promo where he's like, Yeah, you know, I don't like to wrestle, but boy, I sure do it a lot. And I'm actually pretty good at it. And it was like, there's just such a low energy promo, which works for his character, but I don't think works in the context of this feud. I think he needed to find an additional gear in the context of this feud where they broke Chuck Taylor's neck. Like, he needed to get that extra edge to put him over the top. And I'll say it, I've said it before. I said it the night it happened when we recorded it, and I still believe it now. He should have beaten Moxley at the main event of All Out. If that had happened, I think this whole company and his whole career is shaped differently, and he would be a legitimate main eventer. In this run, where he's really been floating for the last year or so, to bring him up to this main event spot, I don't think it was the right character and the right delivery and the right storyline for him to bring in. And I don't think his promos have really matched what they needed to be for this. But the match itself, he got beat down a lot, but finally he came back at one point. Moxley immediately gets him bloodied. You saw Marina like attack Orange Cassidy early on in the match. Mox bit at his cut going in there. He hit the Suzuki Gotch style pile driver at one point for a near fall. Orange finally hits his deep impact, like the diving DDT going in there. Going in, the Death Riders run out, and so and at one point on commentary, JR said he was like, "Throw their asses out," but they haven't done anything yet. But they're going to on there, so that was good. The conglomeration came out finally. That was another good thing that they came out. Willow came out again. That got a great reaction as well. Yuta came in, attacked Orange Cassidy. It's turned into a total cluster mess by the end. And in the end, finally, Moxley hit the Death Rider to kill his dreams. I thought it was well done for what it was. I thought it was a good match. And again, that's the sad part of why the storyline is being so dumb is kind of bad, because I loved the idea of an overarching storyline, like a takeover type of deal. I just think it's been so poorly executed, despite the fact that you have so many good workers. And Orange Cassidy is a great wrestler. I just don't think it was the right spot for him at this moment. And I don't think the storyline has been handled well. But in terms of a match, I thought this was one of the best matches on the show. I would probably put it behind the Mercedes and Stat match. And I think it's right up there with Fletcher and Will. I think I would probably pick Fletcher and Ospreay a little bit over this, but only a little. Like, if you said this was the match of the night, I wouldn't blame you.
Yeah, no, I mean, we had the same match rankings. I would say Stat, yeah. Mercedes, this, and then Fletcher Ospreay. Yeah. They actually got me with the false finish here with the case. I thought that
was good.
Was going to win it, and I got so hyped. So
that would have been awesome.
Yeah. I was really, really impressed that they were able to pull off a false, especially in a pay-per-view where I didn't think that they really got you in any of those other matches where they needed those finishes, right? Ricochet, Takeshita, the tag match, etc. So I was just really, really impressed how they laid it out here, especially because it's like, how do you think Moxley's going to lose this first one at the beginning of this entire storyline? And they got me for that split second, and that's really all they need to get you for. I think that this is like they've had 3 matches now, right? All Out, Full Gear, and Full Gear again.
Yeah.
I would probably put this as my second favorite after the All Out one. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, the All Out one was the best one to me. Even though I think Cassidy should have won. That was a phenomenal match. I think the second one didn't have the magic of the first. I think this one had so many elements to it, like storyline wise, that it ended up being great by the end.
And I was just going to say, my whole thing is the obvious direction is Darby going to be the one dethroning Moxley. I am admittedly not a Darby guy at all, really. So like, I am very turned off of this story for that reason. And like, I would much rather see OC, now that he was the first challenger, I would rather see him come back like after a Moxley year-long reign of terror and defeat him then or whatever, right? But because I personally, I prefer OC to a Darby, but I may be in the minority on that one.
What did you think of Yuta pouring the disinfectant on Orange Cassidy's bloody face afterwards, the hydrogen peroxide or whatever?
Dude, I didn't see that. What the hell? That's
okay, so
Yuki Fujita stuff. Let's go.
Yeah, so that happened pretty much after the match. So everybody swarms the ring after Moxley won. Yuta comes in with the hydrogen peroxide, pours it on Cassidy's face. He's like, ah! Like, because he's got the big cut of blood and all that. Great spot. Hangman Page comes in with a chair. He lays out Wheeler Yuta, and then Mox and Hangman like go toe-to-toe. Christian runs out, hits the kill switch, and Hangman grabs the contract and hands it to Christian. But then Jay White runs out to. Okay, so I didn't like this part. So Jay comes in, hits the Blade Runner on Cage. Why? Like, Hangman gave him the contract. He was about to cash in and take the title from this supposed tyrant who's running the company, even though he's not at all. Why did Jay do that? Like, wouldn't he rather fight Christian? Especially for this, like, again, this psychological genius character. Like, he just, like, screwed himself a little bit here. Claudio Pack run out. They hit Jay from behind. Christian's looking all sad and just walks off backstage. Shafir carries Moxley out. And then suddenly the Death Runners run out. Jay White comes in. He grabs a steel chair and runs after them backstage. And the cameras are rushing in. It's this wild scene, everything going crazy. Suddenly, a car comes flying in and crashes into it. The Death Riders all go into another car, speed off. Suddenly, Darby Allin comes in at the top of the car, and he's like, I'll kill you, Moxley, or whatever he said afterwards. Looking like Psycho Sid here with the car. This was nuts, this finish. Why did they end the pay-per-view like this?
It felt like the end to a GCW pay-per-view. Like when they just throw every single fucking tool into the kitchen. I don't know. It felt like to generate intrigue and move the plot forward. But again, like I've seen this exact situation in like 10 different ways where like Christian and Jay White have fucked around with each other. Hangman has had like this, conflict of morals thing. And is like, well, if I can get back to the world title, then I'll do whatever I have to. We've already seen Darby and Mox go at it like this. Like Darby just keeps doing crazy fucking stunts. Like it's almost like he's trying to get Daddy's attention or something. And he simply cannot. So this was just chaos, but not, I didn't think it was really, it felt to me not like, oh my God, I'm swept up in this moment. And it's all very fluid and flowing. And like, in terms of just like the direction and like knowing who's where and this stuff, it felt like very scripted, like literally, okay, your turn is out, this person run in, your turn is out, this person run in. And it like, it wasn't like good storytelling to me. It just, again, really felt like, let's get all our shit in before the end of this.
Yeah, like throw everything against the wall we can and hope something sticks out of it.
Exactly.
I think what is with this company and its obsession with car angles lately? We had the Mercedes and Stat thing where they tried to run her over with a car. You had Danny Garcia screw with Jack Perry's car. And now Darby crashes his car here. How many car angles can one company do in a month?
Who knows? I mean, it's
how much money has been spent on wrecking all of these vehicles by AEW?
It's like the NXT parking lot. It's just like, don't drive to work, guys. Just take an Uber. You're going to probably save money, much safer.
They were just like, look, we're using all of our TV rights deal to crash a bunch of cars on TV.
It's like Viva La Bam at this point. They're just like, hey, every episode we got to destroy a fucking car. And they're like, okay.
That's kind of Darby's whole character, though. He's like a Viva La Bam character. Yeah. He was in the Jackass movie, like to be fair. Right. So it makes sense, I guess, considering the source. But still, I don't think it was good storytelling at all. But I do think it was like, if this happened, I think in like a more conservative company, this would feel like a huge deal. But like I said, I just named you 3 car angles that have happened in the last month. So to see somebody crash one here doesn't really have the same impact, in my opinion, the third go around as it would the first. And the stuff with Jay and Christian was kind of illogical, in my opinion. They should have let Christian just cash in or just not done that. I think they probably need to get rid of this Christian contract thing. It's an unnecessary story point that just makes things illogical.
I don't know if they know how to, but also I don't really think that they need like a big fucking oh my God, how do we get out of this? I think you can just have him cash it in and fucking lose at this point.
Yeah, it's Christian. Like who cares? Like if he loses. Like I mean, I love his promos. Don't get me wrong, but like nobody thinks of him as a top star at the point. Like he's a great promo who is a great heel, but come on now, he was feeding with Hook. Like what are you doing? He's got Kip Sabian as his right hand man right now. Come on. But yeah, I think the end game of Darby winning is good. I definitely think Darby. I mean, I saw his match with Claudio today, and I thought that was a phenomenal match. He's great at being Darby. I don't know if he's the champion. Like, the champion is the best usage of him, as great as he may be as a wrestler. I mean, that Sting match is still my match of the year. Like that Sting tag match. It's not even a doubt to me. But him as champion, I feel like he's miscast in that role, kind of. And maybe he'll be able to pull it off, and this will all work out better than we think. I think so much of his talent. I think he's one of the best workers in any company right now. But I think him as champion may be miscast, like I said.
So who do you think is the baby face to take it off Moxley, and do we have that baby face yet then?
I think it will be Darby. I don't think they built him up enough to where he feels ready for that.
If you had to choose, like, would you say Darby still?
There just aren't any good options right now with how they booked everything. I think because the thing is, I love Swerve, but he's already been the champion. I think beating Moxley should be a crowning moment for somebody. Well, I think OC could have worked, but not how they've used him. Like, I think this run has not worked. Like, and we'll see how the buy rates are for this show, but I could see this coming, being one of the few that have underwhelmed. I don't think Orange Cassidy has been built up enough to be the top champion at this point. I think there was a time where that would have worked, just not now. Yeah. But like I said, I think they've just backed themselves to a corner where, I mean, I guess you could go with Ospreay. He's never won the championship before. If they could babyface turn Takeshita, that would be something. Maybe they could book an angle where like all the belts are on the line. Like, since Moxley wants to run this company. Again, like, there's so much wrong. There really is no wrong or right answer, to be honest, because of how they've told the story. So you could say anybody, but I think ultimately the logical, if you're just talking purely as a storytelling technique, like how they've laid things out, the logical end game is Darby over Moxley. Like, that should be who it should be. But I think they have some work to do, just from a narrative aspect. But still, I mean, they tried something different, and I can't completely criticize that. I just thought there were some parts I could have done without, and the stuff with the cars feels really like we're trying really hard to have this out of control vibe when it just doesn't fit with the story. So great match.
And again, yeah. Like I tie it up as, just because you're doing a shitload of storytelling does not make it compelling, right?
Yeah.
Just because you have a whole bunch of angles that connect does not make them good. And I think that's what AEW has to do, is to really figure out what the balance is between story and, like, or not even the balance, just how to make a fucking compelling story, because they've done it before with Paige and Omega and stuff like that. And it just feels they are, and Mariah and Tony, I think, and it just feels like they have not been able to find their footing. And I really hope they do, because I still think they have the best roster. They have the best roster potentially ever assembled in pro wrestling right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's so deep, so deep. It's hard to even fit anybody in, no matter how great they are, but with how things are. What do you think of the show overall? It's got an 8.15 rating, cage match here, so the fans liked it. I would probably go a little lower personally, because I think there were some ups, but there were some downs, and the build-up was so bad it affected some things negatively, in my opinion. But I think overall they overcame that and had a really good show.
Yeah, I mean, I thought like the weakest card coming in terms of like there was a lot of rematches, there was a lot of stuff I just inherently wasn't interested in.
Yeah.
But again, like AEW does deliver on pay-per-views, and they did it again here. So like I left satisfied. I'm very excited for the C2. Like if they didn't have the C2, I probably wouldn't watch this week, like in total honesty. But the C2 I think is definitely going to keep me locked in these coming months. So, and you know, I really hope that they do a 10-man block and then they do it even longer.
Me too.
Like, because I think that is like one of their best things that they have for television, especially as like a consistency thing. So, and if they really want to build it up, then fucking build it up. Don't just do like a 6-man N1 victory or King of Gate. Like, give me a fucking G1 if you want to be a G1.
Yeah, so we know that it'll be Okada and Danny Garcia will be in. Garcia announced that on the after show, the post show of the pay-per-view. So we will see how it goes coming in there. It looks like it will be 12 again, but we'll see. Again, we don't know because nothing got announced. But on this show, I mean, it's hard for me to. You can't say a show with Mercedes and Stat, Jay White and Hangman, Fletcher Osprey, Lashley Swerve, Moxley OC. Those are 5 matches that are all, I would say, strong.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing was outright bad on this show either. Like that, but there just was a lot of there was narrative bad, but not bad wrestling. So I would say a 7 or an 8. My hype level wasn't that high, even with the crazy angle at the end. But I think they're trying a lot of things. Hopefully they can settle it down. And I think the Continental Classic is absolutely the venue for that. Let them go out and work and do great things. And I think they have the roster, like you said, one of the best of all time. And I think they have a chance to do something really special this year. So I'm into that. We'll see if Survivor Series, what they can do. I'd be very surprised if that show is as good as this one. To be honest, looking at the card, I think it's going to be really hard. It just depends on how much War Games tickles your fancy, I would say. But that's something we'll talk about next week. We'll have the Continental Classic coming up. It's been a lot of fun, Nello, going over the show, this full gear here for AEW. It feels like we're fully caught up on AEW now because we went over the storylines, where we went, where we're going. We're back, baby.
We are back. C2 time.
Absolutely. So look at the links we put on our shows, on our YouTube videos, on the Cage Match. Follow us on X, Blue Sky. Check out Nello's game on Steam. Pre-order that. It's going to be a bona fide hoot all around. Do you have any last words for the people out there?
Shout out Ethan. Sent me a very nice message when we came back last week, so he was very excited. So shout out Ethan. Shout out the wrestling group chats, and excited to talk Survivor Series next week.
Big shout out to Ethan. Big shout out to the chat. Big shout out to the people out there. Thank you guys for listening, following us along in our journey on Wrestle Update. Thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving. And you know I love you. And until next time, goodbye.